Mo whakawhonu ai universi henga hilelei o mamani whakawhetai ki hotau o tua ene o wha ta e ngata pea hiva ho kula malie ki a koe e o tua koe tapuha.
Total gitu kata. Mario tahu. Okay.
KRCL, Salt Lake City.
Support for Tala Koula on KRCL comes from the National Tongan Society, the Ute Land Trust, and KRCL Sustainers.
Pui ang he moho eiki, e talangata ia te kita, whai ki tu a mama. Tapu, mai tala pangai, ka atahok whatangian ke whai. Malo ho mo lele, te malo e lau mali a ho eiki. Koe ui ene Tala Koula, ni heana māsima e ke asi e lahi wanopo in Hiva FM. Good evening, and welcome to Tala Koula, a Tongan bilingual public affairs show at KRCL 90.9 FM. Our telephone number is 359-9191. Out of the Salt Lake area is 1-800-359-9191. Or visit us at www.krcl.org.
Ko e fiafi whakaafofa ni mo lau mari lelei ai fiafi sāpate koe ni he ku te whoki mai tau porokalama ngonga koe a koe tā lau tonga pe mo palo whesa David Kairi ka oma Dr. Okus Mahina pa me nau kulupu o tau moni lewa hingo e tau porokalama koe tā lai kua koula i poni pe kai tiu te whakanono ia ka koe whai whatangi ati e fiafi ni ko au I woni malohi fo o nurse pa mo so se whakairi. Te oang ere vai taimi ka kato ki a Dr. Kairi ke hanga whahoko ata e tau porokalama I he fiafini.
Kap mo hikure hina maui mo tangaloa. E tap mo pulotu mahina mama mo langina. O tua o e whaiwa tufunga mo e nima mea a. Wahea tāwā kua hiri ka hau mo e lorotonga. He whanonga tāwā ki mui ki he kuonga mua. Mo e halanga tāwā ki he kuonga mui ki mua. O O ku whakatatau I loto he kuonga loto kinawa. Koe mama ulo o ku ne hulu hulu ho tauhala. O ku whakafuo he tā ai wā o whakauho ai tā. He tatau, poto tatau, mo whakaofo ofa. E ne tumutumu he tau e langi mawhana mo vela. O tau hoa tae ngata ai maari e mo aonga. O mui a mui, I mui ka I mua a mua I mua. Koe ilo mo poto, koe fua uho mo tāwā, koe fua he ontolosia mo epitemolosia. We salute deified Hikuleo, hina Maui and Tangaloa. We salute divine Pulotu, Mahina Mama and Langi. Deified ancestors of the performing arts, material arts and fine arts, divided into the time-space, past, present and future. As Moana time-space travelers forward into the deep past, a time-space passage backward into the distant future. Both constantly mediated in the transforming present, a burning light that guides our collective pathway where time defines space and space composes time. Through sustained symmetry, harmony and beauty, when climatic elation peaks in warmth and fireliness, with both beauty and utility as an internal binary, where the former always orderly precedes the latter, with knowledge and skills of form content and time-space, with ontology and epistemology, the ultimate measure. O mau ngoi fia I he fia fini, ke mau to e kau whakataha pia mo e tio Tala Koula, I he veita tala o e fia fini. Pea o kou iheni whakataha pia mo hoku ngahi hoa a kau veita tala. Ai o kou iheni pia mo kolokesa ua whaa mahina tuai. Me he langi mama. Pea pehe ki palofesa hufanga he ako mo lotu, toke tau pustino mahina. Pea pehe foki ki a tawake paiana se misi poto waine. Ai o kou mau iheni he fiafini, mga malo lahi atu e Iwon. Pepe ki a Josefa, I he tariki mautoro ke mauto e foki mai, neongo ku foroa e mau mawahe, ke to e kau mai ki he porogarama a e Tala Koula. Pea I he fiafini, te mau tala noa ai ki he mau tohi fo'ou. Aia ne toki hifo aki, I Aotearoa, I Akosi. Aia ko e tohi ko e ni, o ku iloa, ko e sio whakatonga ai ate whakatonga. Aia ko e whaiva, tufunga, pe mo nima mea whakatonga. Pe ko hono ririu whakapilitania, Tongan views of Tongan arts, Tongan performing arts, material arts, and fine arts. Ko e tohe ko e ni, o ku whakatou katea, I he rea whakapilitania, pe mo rea whakatonga, pe I he ahoni te ukamata atu ai tala noa ki he mautohi, pe hoko e ko ia, pe toki hoko mai ai pe kolokesa, pe he ki hufanga he ako mo loto. Pe kuheni foki a tawake whaiana, koe taha ia e kau tufunga iloa na mau tala noa ki ai he mautohi, pe mau fia e nei heni, ke tau tala noa whakataha ki he tohi koeni. Pe ko au te ukamata atu e mau peita tala I he fiafini. Te ukamata pe tala noa ko e tala noa ki he uraki wahe ko ia e tohi. Pe heri ko ia e toki whakahoko mai rewa e kolokesa e whakaiki iki o e ngāue ki hono whatu mo whao e tohin. Pe mo e ngahi te whitoi whakaukau mahuinga e tohi. Ai au mau whai ai ai whehui. Ko e hā ai ate whakatonga. Pe ko e hā ai tufunga. Mo e whaiva. Pe mo e nima mea. Pe hoko atu ai pe mo e hufanga he ako mo lotu, tene tala no ai ki hono wahe o e tau ate whakatonga ki he waalalahi e tolu, ai a koe whaiva, tufunga mo nima mea. Koe nahi mea pene tau o sta no mai kia ki mua. I he tau programa re tio Tala Koula, ka i e whiawhini, te mau ko lava rere e ngā aue ki he tohi, pa ku hoko atu en ki e mau tala noa ki he tohi ko ia. Nā mau whakakaukau ke raki kamata ai tohi ni aki hatau toe foki. O hulu aki ai te whitoi whakakaukau, whakafilosofia, tō whanua ai tau whangakui, ai a koe hanga nau whakatūtū, ai ngahi kuonga mua, kuonga loto, mo kuonga amui. Ai a koe whakatūtū koe ni o ku mahu inga mau pe koe kuohiri, koe kuonga mua, pe koe kuonga ia i mua, loto ngā koe kuonga loto, pe koe kuonga i loto, mo kaha au koe kuonga amui, pe koe kuonga i mui. Koe whakatūtū whakafilosofia e ngahi kuonga o ku uhinga ia, kono koe osi matu waki he kuhiri e ngahi tesi, pe koe sivi o e tāwā. Pe a mai e ki mua koe tūhulu, he loto ngā, pe a koe kahau o ku te eki ai ki hoko, o ku mai e ki mui, o hulu waki e ngahi tau kei o e kuhiri. Koe to oen me pesi waruono e sio whakatonga e ati whakatonga. Pe i he fwoi whakakaukau koe ni, ne mau whakakaukau ai, ke kamata e mau tohi a ke mau wakai, ki he tupuanga o e tau ati whakatonga. Pe mo e tau ngahi kui o tua na nau kamata mai a e tau ati o whai mai me ai. Koe ai ne mau hanga rewa whakatūtū whao a e tala tupu a koe au tonga. Pe kou whahena whamaro ma ke tawake whai ana. Ko hui koe ngāwe lahi ne whakahoko ki hono whakatūtū o e sāti koe ni mautui koe kakato eni o e tau tala koe au tonga mo e hohoko o tala au tonga. Ai aku tātou lahi pe tau tala noa ki he tala au tonga, mo e tala tupu au tonga, ka koutui koe ne toki kakato eni, pe te mau toki tala noa whakaiki he ngahi tawaki koe ni. Ai koe tau tala whoki, ka mata mea rimu mo kere, koe tau fuafua kui ia, hoko mai ki pulotu, pe whanau ia e tau ia futuna, o ia e mahanga e toko whaa, pe te toki whakaiki ke ngai mahanga koe ne toko whaa, koe ni pe moe tau ati nai tupu mai mea leki nau toru. Sai, koe tupu anga o e whaiva mo e tufunga mo e nima mea. Koe te toki whakaikiki ki hen, he ku iai pe ngai fo i sāti whakaikiki ki hen, ka te ukamata ki pen, pe a kapau pe e hato e tānaki maa mui ki ai a kolokesa, pa pe he ki a hufanga hea ko maloto, pe a motawaki whaiana whakafof. Ka koe anga e mau wakai, matamata ko hikureo, havea hikureo, ko e tau kui, pe hagu pe he foki ko e tupu anga eni o ho tau haa i tonga, tau te whito ki he whahinga whakakaukau, kau ai ai mehikitanga. Ko e tupu anga o e whaiva, o mei koe kamata me i puroto, me he wheitu o kui ai a hikureo. He kui ai e tau tala o kupehe, ko e punake, o ku toki hoko ko e punake, ka pau ku ne lava ke ne mau kakato ai fo i tawaki e tolu ko e pulotu whau, ai kono whau ia o ha whahinga taanga, pulotu haka, kono whakahaka ia o e taanga, pea pulotu whasi pe koe pulotu hiwa, ai a ko hono whakawhasi o e whai taanga ko ia. Pea ko hiko hono ui koe ko pulotu, mautui koe kamata eni o e tau whaiva, tau te whito ki he whaiva, hange ko ia koe taanga, pea mo ngahi mea pehe. O mau, toi hanga whakawhatotoro i koe kamata, ngari koe kamata eni o e whaiva tā whanguwhangu, pe ko hi koe tā whanguwhangu, tau te whito ki hono ongo, whaahi kehe, pe koe ongo whakapulotu, kamata mai moia me hikureo me pulotu. Pe pehe whoki he whaiva tauhi wā, e koe whaiva tauhi wā, koe tau fuafua tauhi wā ki a hikureo na kamata mai ia, me he tauhi o e wā i he kātoanga i nasi, ai nei whakafau ia i e tui tonga, pe a whakahoko ia koe whakafofonga, taura eki a o hikureo. Pe te utua ki whakaiki ki peki a mui ka koe ki kamata te pen hono tuku atu. Hoko atu ki ai koe kautanga roa, Mata ko tupuanga ni o tau tufunga me he kau tangaloa tau te fito ki he tufunga fo uvaka mo tufunga langa fale. O kuia foke tau tangaloa na e ui make he pea ko tangaloa tufunga. Pea ko tangaloa tufunga na iai ne toki o toki mauinga ni na ne ngawe aki he ne tufunga fo uvaka tufunga langa fale. Pea toi ngawe aki foki ko efu me he mata toki ko ia tangaloa tufunga. Na e kau ki hono whao ko ia aki o e fua motu i tonga ai ako ata pepe ki eua. O kuto e haa mai ko tangaloa tau whito ki a tangaloa e tu matupua na kamata mai mea e tau whaiva ko ia ko e whaiva heu lupe. Pea ko bege mo whakatoanga e ang kainga ko e whahinga mea koe ni ko heu lupe pepe ki e whaiva sika ulutoa. O ku wha ui whokea ko sipoti i he sio e kau wakai me he wakai whaka e kau we site. Ka ki tau tolu i tonga na e ui pe ko whaiva talu pe mei mua. Pe o ku hape he tala ko e whaiva heu lupe na e kamata mai i hene fufu ha he tala ko tangaloa e tu matupua. Pe to e hape whoki i he tala ko e whare wha pe pe ki aho e tu. Na nau kamata mai e whaiva ko e whaiva sika urutoa. Pe koe kau maui lewa, maui motua, na nau kamata mai e whaiva whei umu, tau ka maui motua. Maui atalanga na ne kamata e whaiva ngoue, e nei iloa au pita ne whakahoka mea koe ngoue, tōkanga, kawai e uwhi pepeheki e taro. Pea mo maui kiskisi na ne kamata mai whainga whaiva koe whaiva fusi whanua, ai ana e toki iloa ki mui, koe whaiva tautai waka, hono kumi, waha whanua whao. Pea oku toi haa mai pe i he tala koe ni ko maui kiskisi na ne kamata e whaiva kui koe whaiva whanifo. Ai ane mau tala noa pe ki ai i loto i he tohi. Pe wha o si ko hina mata koe tupuanga e ni o e nima mea a. Uraki be mea vere si ai a koe tahaia o e kui ai kau maui na ne kamata mai nima mea a lalanga koe tau lalanga. Tau te whitu ki he lalanga o e ngafi ko vere si ia. Pe ko hina foki o kuiloa ko nima mea ko kaanga e ko hina le whakawhahoko ko kaanga o au ki he ne o lau ki he mahina o whai mea e ko kaanga pe kui ai e foi tufunga maari e tawake whai ana kui ko e waka ahina o ku whakamatala e ki he tautou whalau ahina ki he mahina o whai ne ko kaanga nima mea ko kaanga ko ia i he mahina sai na mauhanga rewa wahe ai u tala koe ni o toi whakaatalahi mai ai ngahi waa. Ako whiawhia bito koe whai wahe koe ni ai a koe hako ni o hikureo, havea hikureo. Ai au hamai ko toia futuna na iai whoki pea mo e raki mahanga na e whanau i e toia futuna ko piki mo kere. He mea piki mo kere ko havea loro whanua mo tau furi whanua o iai a hikureo. Pea hikureo ku iai ai ngai haa keke ka wai tokoua ko whare hau mo whare lava ko tui pe mahana ko e kamata ene ai la lava no ku hu mai haa he ingoa koe ni toto fisi pe peheki a where huluni pe whe huluni ai a koe kau koe haa ene pe te tau toki ka pa pe te hatau tala no mai kia mui te tau toi foki mai pe ki e kamata koe ni mea hikureo koe tangalo kau tangaloa ai ko o mahanga ko ia o ku tupu me ka o tangaroa ko atungaki pe ki mai mo a longona o ku ia tau furi fonua pa mo vele lahi pe ko kinau ia ne na whanau i mai fufua ka o tangaroa eiki pe ku ia lewa ka o tangaroa ai tangaroa e tu matupua tangaroa langi tangaroa mana tangaroa atulongolongo tangaloa tufunga mo tangaloa tamapo uri ala mafoa. Kako tangaloa tufunga, mawinga upit, uhi koe haa mai ai tufunga i he toko taha koe ni, ai ane tala no ki ai ki mua. Pe oku i he ni whok mea tangaloa i tu matupua, i la hewa pe iai au eitu. Koe laini rewa kau maui, ne mau te hanga toe whakaata mai lahi ai he mau tohi, ai ko whontahi whokia mo whonuuta, o ku iai tau furi a vere si, pa ko vere si, na ne mau hoa ia ki a tau furi whanua, o iai a uraki kau maui motua, pa ko nau tau ia kau maui koe nia maui atalanga, maui puku, maui loa, pa iai fok mo maui kiskis, ka kau maui ina nau I nofo ki koroa ko hi ko e whae a mau I kisi ko whine koroa o hape he tautara. Ai au ku iloa I he tohi ho ko hina hono hingoa. Pea ko hina ko ni o ku ha mai ai o ku iai he hina o ko toko taha ena ne kamata e nima mea kokaanga. Pea mea e wea e haa tu I moturiki pe ko tu I talau pe mo ngai haa hangen ko whainga tu I tawake mo ngā tonga, mapu, sirika pe pe foki kia tulukawa. Mau whengai pe ke kakato ko toa e hohoko I e haa ko ne kau maui. Pea whaka au si rewa kia Tala Koula aia ko Tala Koula kamata meai hoko meai ko e laine ko e ni o hau mea Tala Koula ka ko e kamata pe mea ongo mahanga ko rupe pe pe heki hei moana o ia toki langa whanua mo hena tuai whanga o ia nā whanua topu kuru hoko I vai o au kia Tala Koula pe pe heki hei moana uri uri pe mo rofia ka koe ngahi lai neni o e tau whanga kui pia mau inga ke mau kamata me heni me tupuanga o e tau ati. Ko mea ko fie tala noa ki ai ko ngawe ko ni ko tau rahi a hono whakahoko o au mai ki he tunga ko ni ko e fuafua ko yanga ni whakatotoro ko e fuafua toko tahana ni hanga whakatu ha sati pe ko ha whakahoko hoko ko kamata me fisisi a hu whanga hayako mo e lotu Professor Toketa Augustino Mahina aina whakahoko I hene fisisi he tahiwa walu ono Religion, Politics and the Tuitonga Empire ko fuafua satin ne hanga whakatu ia ku mau ko mau ngawe ko ni ko mau ngawe o mau hoko atu a ngawe ne kamata mai e he tōtaha ko ni ki mua ai nei ai peka kai na nau whae tala ko ni ka ne te ki nau hanga whakatu ki hawa ahinga sati hange ko ni ai au hātu I he ngawe ne whakahoko e hufanga hea ko malotu pe ki hene artikolo na e tohi I he tahiwa walu fitu ko ne artikolo ko ni ne toi ngawe ki pe mo e sati tatau ai au mo wakai mai pe ki he anga tuku au mai a hono whakatu tuu e tau tala e whanua mo e tau tala tupua ho mai rewa whiwhine pārangi ko Phyllis Herta I he tahiwa walu o ne whau a e ne fisis ia I he tau mea whakatonga pe pena ne hanga whakatu mo e ne sāti ana e koe sāti ana e whiwhine ko ia I he tahiwa walu ka mo wakai me pegai mo whakawhehua naki ki he sāti ku tawa o mai ki ai I he ahoni pe ngai ngāu e kau kakai ne nau kamata mai ngāu e koe ni ki mua aia ko pehe ko whika ua en uraki pea hu whanga hea ko mo lotu whika ua mai e toko taha ko en ko Phyllis Herta na ne whai e sāti ko ni tahiwa walu pea I he tahiwa hiwa ua aia nei whaua e fisis toke taha ko ia hu whanga hea ko mo lotu o ne toi hanga lewa whakatu kakato mai ai u hohoko ko en ai nau toki tala noa ki ai pea ko e hohoko eni ne toi kakato ange a hono toi whakatutu mai e hu whangahea ko mo lotu pe a negu kaupe I he mau to'o ai ngahi unu mehe ngahi u sāti ko eni ngahi mea ke mau ngāo e ki ai I he whao ko ene o mau tohi hoko hifo ki ai ko e tahiwa hiwa walu ko e sāti eni Emil Wolfgram aina ne whao e Hawaiian whau I Emil Wolfgram ko mo wakai me pe ki he sāti a Emil Wolfgram a ia kune hanga o kamata mai me rimu mo kere hoko mai ke he mahanga toko whaapea mo tuku au mai a tau tolu ko ia I tonga pe ne ai ngai mea ai ne mauto me he sāti ko ni a Emil Wolfgram rao si lewa ko e sāti ne ufukotu I he kutohi ko ia ne toki tuku mai he uafe tahafitu pe a ne ufukotu lewa ia o whakahoko ko e kusāti. Ka neo ma ngai sāti ko e ni ko toa o tui ko e kakato e ni ko mawau ki ai I he mau tohi pe ko e kakato ia o e mau ngāu e ne whakahoko ne mawau mai rewa ki ai I he mau tohi. Pa ko beke u ngatahe e ku whakamatala ko hui ko e ki o atu pe ki konga uraki o e mau tohi pe te u tukuange e whainga maari ko ni ki korokesa ua wha mahina tuai ke ne hanga whakahoko mai ai historia o e mautohi, mo e ngāwe ne whakahoko ke, pia mo e ngahi whakatotoro ne na whakahoko, pia mo uwhanga ako mo e roto. A kaua tai peki ai, pia pehe ki a tawake whaiana, pia mo e tangatani ki e ngāwe ka ke mautohi. Koro se kaisa, ko ho whainga maari e.
Alo pito mawita vahe ako. Pea o kōkole ke whakamalumalu atu i e tala whataku na e osi whakahoko he kamaka o e polo kalamani. Pea o ko whakamalu a mau whainga maali e ke hokoka te tala noa koe ni ki he tohi na mau ngawe ki ai pea o kōkole whamolmole ate ki he kau kainga tonga mo tolo oku mamata mai he painga whiohi ka te kola pe te wafe ki he lea whakapiritania ke whakahoko atu e ku konga a kupauto ki pāsi lewa ki a hufanga hea ko mo lotu ke ne whakaosi mau tala noa ka te uhanga o ki share e ku PowerPoint o ku asia te pe.
Iyo, boa fofa.
Hello. Okay. Ko e hange koe lawa te vita, ko he ngoe mau tohi na mau whau. Gataha moe lahi ai kakai kau tufunga kau ni mamea moe kau whaiva tonga me tau community. Ko e sio whakatonga ai ati whakatonga, whaiva tufunga e ni mamea a whakatonga, Tongan views of Tongan arts. Tongan performance arts, material arts, and fine arts. And this PowerPoint was shared when we launched this publication, which was here in Tamaki, Makaurau, Auckland, and Aotearoa, New Zealand, on Friday, the 22nd of August at Mangere Arts Centre, Ngā Tohu o Uenuku. And put that there. And I shared that there was a lot of rumors going around about how long this book has taken. And I calculated it from that day that we launched on the Friday, and it was exactly 13 years, 2 months and 1 week journey to that day that we launched the publication. So not as long as the journey that Mauita Vaheako has shared with, everyone that has contributed to the our Tongan cosmogony, but I think what I will share this evening is just a little bit of the journey. While it took over 13 years before the birth of the physical publication, there were various projects and a lot of minds and hearts that have fed into what is embedded in this physical publication. So I'm just going to give you an overview, and Mauita Waheako, Hufangahako Molotu, and Tawake Whaiana, please jump in where you want to add. But it's just a visual journey and a little bit of context. So just to start off, this Ngatu Tāuli, this is how this idea of a book on Tongan views of Tongan arts came about. And this Ngatu Tāuli, or Black Mark Barcloth, is currently in Toyo Tamaki Auckland Art Gallery's collection, and it's dated to 1990. So it started out of this, and it's linked to this exhibition here called Home KL, Artists of Pacific Heritage in Auckland, that ran from 7th of July to 22nd of October in 2012. And I was invited as a guest curator for this exhibition, one of 3 guest curators that were invited to work with 2 curators that worked at Toyo Tamaki Auckland Art Gallery. And this Ngatu Tāuli here was one of the Ngatu Tāuli that I was tasked with writing the label for. So I think just to provide some context, here in Aotearoa, it might be different out in that part of the world, But within our cultural and art sector, there are a lot of terminologies that are used to box our art with, and those terminologies are really problematic. So at this time and space in 2012, I was tagged as the curator that was going to come and look at heritage artists. And at this time, there was a difference between what a heritage artist is and what a contemporary artist is. So basically, the definition of what a heritage artist is a maker or makers that have brought our art forms from the homeland, all of our different island homelands, to wherever in diaspora they are at, but brought it here in Aotearoa and have continued that art form. So Nima Mea a Kokaanga, our bar cloth making, is one of those art forms that's regarded as heritage artists. So arts and made by heritage artists. So I was told that there's this ngatu tauli, it's in our collection, and can you, they gave me the ability to choose who I felt needed to be in this exhibition, because it was a major exhibition at that time and space. But they wanted to tag this one because it was already in their collection. And I said, I'm happy to, because I was an art history student at University of Auckland, and I just walked down the road, down the hill and to the gallery and see this work. And so then they said there's been 10,000 words that's written about this ngatu ta'uli by someone who's just who did their PhD, on this ngatu ta'uli and on our ngatu ta'uli in general. Not a Tongan person, and which was very obvious, because when I read the 10,000 words, I was thinking, this sounds very inaccurate and does not sound right from a Tongan lens. As a Tongan reading it, I'm not a maker of ngatu ta'uli, but I have family members. I'm surrounded, by context of makers, and you hear it, you're born into it, you live it, and it just didn't sound right. So I thought, I better double check it with someone just to make sure that my thinking is correct. So I sent this information to Hufanga Hako Moloto, and he confirmed for me that the information was not correct. And so that, I think at that point in time and space, this was one example of many that I had already come across to that point, which was written by non-Tongans from a Western lens, and because they've applied this Western lens on how to interpret our Tongan art forms, it was really skewed, but also it was obvious that they hadn't done their research from a Tongan cultural context. So that's what led. So this was, I dated it. I found the email that I sent and said, just like to say that I'm not going to use this information because the information is accurate. And it was dated to Friday, 15th of June, 2012. So that's where I dated to get the 13 years, 2 months and 1 week. So anyway, this started the journey, and I, with my annoyance, I asked Ufanga Hako Molotu, can we please write a book on Tongan views of Tongan arts? Because, otherwise we're going to go around in circles. We're going to come across the same information if we don't get our views out there, because you can't control people who are wanting to write about our material culture and our art form. So thankfully, Hufanga Hako Molotu came on board then, and that started our journey. So this exhibition, so as I said, this was in 2012, but prior to that, I was involved in an exhibition called Nima Mea, the Fine Arts of Tongan Embroidery and Crochet, and it was co-curated by myself and Manuesi now Whakehautolo Mahina, now Fujimoto, and with the support of the then director of the gallery that this exhibition was held. It was an gallery called Object Space, and the director at that time was Philip Clark. He was really supportive in taking a different stance on what, looking critically at what art is from a Western lens. And this was the very first Waramoana Oceania exhibition they've ever had in their space. And then for him to embrace our views and say that we're going to focus on embroidery and crochet, which from a Western lens is craft and not fine arts, but from our lens, it is our fine arts. So he was very supportive, open, and we produced this exhibition as well as a bilingual publication of which Ufanga Hako Lotu, we pulled him in as well to help us with that. And that, that was sort of a really good reference point for this exhibition, because this exhibition was a mainstream exhibition. And when you come into a project where you're working with a whole lot of diverse minds and hearts with different views, how can you advocate for your view? And I think with our experiences, especially in the work we do with Langimama, publications are real powerful ways of saying, here's the evidence, this is the knowledge, from our lens. So we had this publication to look critically at things like terminologies, but also to say from a Tongan lens, it's what fine arts is different from the current Western knowledge and understanding of it. So this exhibition and publication was really crucial in informing sort of that pathway and that journey. And at that same time, with the yes from Hufanga Hako Molotu, I was tasked with going out and seeking funds and support as to how we can make this publication a reality. And we had put in a application to Creative New Zealand with this, which is our national sort of government organisation that funds the arts, and for support. And so after Hufanga Hako Molotu and I sat down and thought, well, what is our approach going to be, and what do we want to do? And one of the key things we wanted to do was to go and look at our koloa that's housed in museums, especially in the UK and Europe, and that's what that first funding application was for. But as part with that journey, we also Hufanga Hako Molotu, I was focusing on what I was doing. Hufanga Hako Molotu had his own little projects going, and this was a project that he was working on with Tuifonua Lava Kaivelata, who is on the left image with Hufanga Hako Molotu. And this project was specifically looking at the making of fangufangu, our nose flute. And, while there was a select few that made and played it predominantly in Tonga and, some here in Aotearoa and other elsewhere globally, it wasn't sort of it needed more, I think, in terms of support, so it can be a common thing. And so this started by Hufanga Hako Molotu and Tuifonua Lava Kavelata. They got some funding, so this was running at the same time as us trying to navigate some support for our book project. And as part of that project, we visited museums. So the other image is this group that had gathered as part of this project. We visited Tamaki Paengahira Auckland War Memorial Museum, and we looked at their fangufangu collection as well as some of their other Tongan musical instruments in that space. And so this is 2015. And again, I think there was a couple of workshops, and this was another second workshop, same project that Hufanga Hako Molotu and Tuifonua Lava led. And this is where our communities, Tongan communities and others, I think we just put it out, especially to the networks that Hufanga Hako Molotu and Tuifonua Lava had, to those that were interested to gather. And as part of that project, they had already sourced some bamboo from Tonga. So that's what you can see in this image here. And then you've got I think that's one of the key things is, running these projects, collaborating with people who have the knowledge and skills, not only sort of the theory beside it and the history around it, but also those that had the knowledge and skills of making, the crafting and the making of it. And also, how do we transfer that knowledge, the intergenerational passing on of knowledge. And hence, this is Meleseini Haitelensia Fifita Ola Kepa Lolohe Fetutuai, who's on the very bottom right. And that's her very first encounter with the fangufangu back in 2015, when I think she was 7. and from there, so the project, so we combined forces. I was looking after the Tongan Arts book, and Hufangha Komolotu was, carrying their whangwhango project. So we visited other museums, and this is our National Museum of New Zealand Te Papa Tongarewa in Wellington. Again, we viewed some of their tongan koloa, including their whangwhango, which they've got some really beautiful pieces. While that's going on, there was another project that I was tasked with, which was to I was given an opportunity where they were building a new extension to one of the tertiary institutions here in Aotearoa, and I was asked to bring in some creatives, for me to select not just Tongans, but any creatives that can come together. And the brief was, it has to be a work that is rooted in our deep time knowledge and heritage, Waramoana Oceania heritage, but is also relevant to students today. So in my thinking, I thought of this group here. So these are members of the Whaunitene o Mo'ui Collective, and they are linked to Tongan Methodist Church here in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. And the reason why I went with this group, they were one of the first groups here in Aotearoa that experimented with synthetic material. So with our Nima Mea Kokanga, we have access to our hiapo, and all of our natural resources in Tonga. You come here, and with customs and some of those challenges, what can you use? So our communities adapt and they use what's available here. And so one of these materials is called Rene. That's one of the names for it. And so this collective had experimented with it, and I was thinking, I think there'll be a good one. They'll be open, to adapting and being innovative and open to new things. And so it was my task to go and meet with them, present the project, but also to share some of Benjamin's work. So Benjamin's work, you can see on the image on the right, he's the young gentleman, second from the left, where he, I think, I don't know if he's been on this show, Maui Vaheako, but he's artist of Tongan heritage. He uses a lot of iconography from our Tongan material culture, especially the motifs that are found on our bowai, our weapons. But he had always had an interest, because I met him in one of those occasions where you meet Tongan artists, and we got talking, and he said, I know that Nima Mea Koka'anga is the realm, it's a women's art form, but I'm really interested in it. So remembering meeting this Tongan artist and thinking, oh my gosh, I think if I combine the two, so the knowledge and expertise of this group, Whaunitene o Mo'ui Collective, together with the motifs that this, younger artist could create, combine it, they'll make something amazing that will kind of fulfill the brief. And so it was a bit of a challenge sharing with these women, because, with our Nima Mea Koka'anga groups, they're used to a certain way of making it. But when you bring in a new idea, I had to try and convince them. And I think it was the fact that Benjamin work was a lay priest that got it, rather than his motifs, because the motifs were quite different. So it was a ngatu tupenu ta uli. And this is just part of the process where everything we used was new materials, in terms of, this is the papa koka'anga, but instead of sort of the more rounded form, it was a flat form, because it was two boards we had to do together, because it was going to be quite a huge ngatu tupenu ta uli. And then instead, normally it's lashed with kaffa, but we decided, so let's experiment with chicken wire, because it'll still achieve the texture. So that's what we did, and that's what this process here, and this was our trial and error. So the women, there was, women in the group where they're the ones that have the knowledge and skills on how to mix the dye. So we got synthetic dyes, and we played around with the kula uli, the different types of kula, and this was a trial, and learnings from this is then what created. So this is at their church hall. This was where we gathered to create this piece of work. So on the right-hand side, there's members of the group with Benjamin and myself, finishing it up to then up on display, and it's still currently up on display now at MIT. So that project was going on at the same time. So finally we got some funding, from Creative New Zealand, and this funding was specifically to support a trip to go to the UK and Europe. And this was in July 2015, to look at some of our koloa that's in their collections. And we were specifically focusing on our 18th century koloa. And prior to this trip, Hufanga and Heako Moloto and I had already accessed some of the collections by contacting the museums we wanted to visit, where they sent us the works, and we selected it based on what we thought we might want to include in the book. So this was when we left Aotearoa, our first stop in Hong Kong, and this is our travelling crew. We've got my husband, Kenneth Duai, Hufanga Heako Moloto, and our two girls, Akasiume Moana, Tulak and Bilisi, Tupo Mahina Tuai, and Meliseni. And so our first stop was the Pitt Rivers Museum, and this museum is part of Oxford University. And there we were hosted, we met up with Benjamin Work. So Benjamin Work that you met earlier in the other project, that was sort of the beauty of this trip, is that in our conversation and working with him on that project, I shared with him, I was like, we're going to go on this research trip. If you can get the funding, tag along. So he managed to get the funding, tagged along with his wife, Yaeli, and this was our first stop, and we were hosted amazingly by the team here, and the team was Jeremy Uden, Jeremy Cooten, and Nicholas Crow, and they were the team that looks after our koloa in their collection. So, the timing was good as well, because they had all of their Cook collection, specific sort of related to a certain, I forget what voyage it was. They had it out because they were just about to put it up on display, so it was ready and accessible for us to view, and that was the beauty of it. We got to see all of these koloa, the povai. We got to sort of see some of our bar cloth, and that was one of the unique things. On the left you can see the ngatu tahina, and the ones that you see today is symmetrical, and what we were seeing, a lot of the examples we were seeing of the ngatu tahina at that time period, like 18th century, is that you've got the hala in the center, and one side is completely different to the other side in terms of the motifs and patterns, and that was something that we were seeing a lot when we viewed a lot of our ngatu. And then I think this was a sisikafa, another example, and this was a very fine mat made out of fau, hibiscus fiber. Sorry, Omen?
Sisifale.
Oh yeah, sisifale, malo. Gato moscaca. We don't have gato moscaca here in any of our museums. Not as many, actually. There's a few here, but and a select few in Tonga, but there was a lot in the museums overseas, and beautiful. And I think the highlight for me was this one here, which has that motif at the bottom, and I'd never seen it. You see a lot of publications and things online where, when this Gato Moscaca was stood up, you can't see this motif, which Hufanga Heako Moloto said, that's the Mata'ava design. I went, because you associate this design with the, the Maori koru, but when you see it, you're thinking, man, amazing, because this is, again, dated to 18th century. So that was Pitt Rivers Museum. And then from there, we went to University Museum of Bergen, and this is in Norway. And here's my traveling crew again, sometimes happy, sometimes sad. And their museum, their collections was underneath a cave. And so this is just us driving in and having to wear these plastic coverings on our shoes before we entered. But we went to this museum specifically to see the tukipitu, which is the stamping tube here. And this is related to the French explorer collected this, and it was, I think, late 18th century. So Brunei d'Entrecosteaux. Okay. Don't know if one of you want to pronounce that. That was very bad pronunciation, but that was that French explorer's collection. So specifically to look at this, especially with Whangahaako Malotu's project around our whangu, but also looking at other musical instruments, and he was interested. So we had read some of the literature to say that there were only two, they identified there were only two in existence, and one was in Norway and the other one was in Ireland, and we managed to go see the Norway one. So the beauty of seeing our koloa physically and in person is the detail. You can see it from every angle, and lots of notes taken during this trip to the University Museum of Bergen, and we were hosted by Soraya for this trip. And then from there we went to Austria, and went specifically to the Welt Museum in Vienna. And this was us arriving, and we were hosted by Gabrielle, who is no longer there, but she looked after the collections. And again, we looked at a whole range of our Tongan koloa in the collection, where my husband Kenneth was very excited because some of these storerooms, they don't allow kids, but this was the only one, I think, out of all of them that they were allowed in the storeroom. So it was an amazing experience for them. So we looked at a whole variety of things here, but specifically we wanted to look at this helu, which, I think they kind of tagged it as the palata vake. And Whangahaako Malotu, did you want to share some insights on this?
It's fine. No.
About the naming and the Balalapa?
That was just a hunch, depending on the naming of the materials, you see. Basically made up of coconut mid-ribs, palalafa. And I think it was raw palalafa, not old or dried palalafa. And tawake red feathers, hence the coining, pala tawake. Palalafa entwined with tawake feathers, you see. But that is as good as a hunch. I mean, there may be other possibilities, but this is the good thing about inquiry and research. It is open-ended. We throw in our 1 cent piece, they throw in a 1 cent piece, and then we decide, verify, and the closer, the better. But is that what you wanted me to say?
Yep, malo pito, Whangahaako Malotu.
Winga peke hingoa, koe mahalo peni pe koe mata pe koe ngari. I hingoa e whahinga helu, koe helu teu fuki, koe helu tuuen, koe helu teu te ngāwe ko helu o luka, ko helu tuu pe, hange hakalauni. Desio ke hange tofu hakalauni. Tana hiri whakalauni pe kau tu i tonga tau tolu. Aia, koe tau ilo na ngahi ake palalafa, koe whatotolo wena, koe ilo wena e mau me here kōti, na ngahi me he palalafa. Koe coconut mid-rib, pea moe fulu i tawake kula. Pea tu usi moe o koini rewa pala tawake. Koe palalafa o ku te waki pala tawake kula. Tonu behala, liga do bigilotu e tau toksimi.
Yeah, no, and I think with this one, Whangahaako Malotu, it wasn't in the records about the balalafa. Yes, there's the coconut midrib, which is the which is different. I think they've got a different English name for it. And I think that was the benefit of us being able to view these in person, because we could see the detail. And I think all the records we had seen to date, no one had really identified that and linked it to the name. And I guess again that links to the knowledge that's also in our language. You know, if you didn't know that, to then kind of delve deeper. So that was quite an insight. But yes, so this was the one we were targeting for this museum. But again, we also experienced and viewed other musical instruments. So this is the mimiha. And some museums allowed us to touch and feel. Others, we had to wear gloves. And those are the things we have to mediate and negotiate with every museum institution, because it's different. They have their own Western sort of knowledge and understanding of, making sure that, the oils on our hands doesn't add to the deterioration of certain works. But also they do say that some works have chemicals and things that might be harmful. So there's all these things to negotiate, but our preference is to hold it with our hands and to play it when we can. So this Vault Museum and through Gabrielle allowed us to play and also touch. And this was we had amazing support people along the way, and it's in particular Heike and John who hosted us in that together with Ben and Yaeli. It was amazing when you have travel with a collective, share and exchange as you go, but also just the support that they provide in the different and foreign environment. And so from there, we arrived in Spain. And we had a moment that we paused, and Kenneth, who was the navigator for all of our travels, trying to navigate, because I don't think people wanted to speak English to us in Spain. And so how do we get to our hotel? And then finally we got there. But this is in Madrid, and we wanted to go specifically to the Museo de America. And there were two things that we wanted to align. We aligned our trip in our thinking and planning ahead, was that there was a conference on at that same time that they were hosting called the Pacific Arts Association Europe chapter. So the Pacific Arts Association has been around, I'm sure, over 40 years, but they've got a Europe chapter. I think they've got an American chapter, and they've got of the most recent one that they've established was a Pacific chapter. But, looking at opportunity where we come and we shared. So we shared about this research we were undertaking, but also to look at their collections. And this was our traveling crew on the left-hand side. So in addition to Benjamin and Yaeli, we also had Sulieti Femea Burrows and Tui McGilly, so mother and daughter duo, who are also included in the publication, but they're also doing some amazing things within the space of bark cloth making and here in Aotearoa and globally, but we all presented, so it was an opportunity to share our insights and our projects and the work that we're doing, and we got to see some of their koloa, but two works in particular we wanted to see, and this is one of their fine mats, which was really amazing, was this. So this was again tagged to be a palata vake as well, and it was cased in a case, and we were only able to see it through the case. But when you're there and you can take detailed shots like this one on the right, it was still good. But it would have been amazing if they had the case off. But you make do with what where those institutions are at. So this was one of the key ones we wanted to see. But also, this is the team getting ready to go and see this ngatu ta'uli here. And this ngatu ta'uli was collected by Alessandro Malaspina in the Va'u 1793, I think, approximately. But this is, for myself personally, I have not seen a ngatu ta'uli of that age completely intact. And I think this is a ngatu ta'uli launima, and they had pulled it out in its entirety, and so we wanted to see it in its entirety and requested it, and this is just images from the museum that was shared by others who were shared with us, but in the end we were only able to see this small part, but even that small part we were able to get some amazing insights.
The kopesi were completely fine kopesi. To'o ware, the measure of good works of art. Tuolalahi, auralahi, it's not so beautiful. But the Kubesi used in that 200 plus years old, Ngatu Tauli is so fine and refined. And so the whole piece was intricately and complexly decorated with fine and refined Kubesi. Awiki, awarevare, tuoiki, tuowarevare. With variations, you see the variations. It's just to add. Tuoiki, tuowarevare, awiki, awarevare. Koe fuaia o ati whakaofofu. O hange koe Ngā no e kie kona tonga kona na nage menchik nage lawa kona. Ngafi. Ngafi ko no au hangi ha fulu yulu. That fine is a fulu yulu. And that is a sign of a great work of art. O wege de mau ya hao ni ko whakapiko piko. Ai ka kai mo tau doro. Kau ai ngai mea tuolalahi, moaulalahi, palaku. O palaku au pito, Kaya ko tāna kia tupe.
Malo pito, whangaku maloto. And again, you can't see it. So you can see it looks black. And then when you look at it, you're thinking, oh, same patterns and should have gone. But on the right image, there is a line, which is kind of like the hala, but one side is completely different pattern from the other side, and you don't see that. Maybe they've got I think this image was not on their collections online. Museums are now moving into putting all their collections online, so I'm not sure if this one is on there, but so you can see the detail of it. And I think that was the benefit of us, even though we only got to see a small portion of it, we were able to lift it up and look at it and just sit there and just have a good talanoa over it. So that was one of the key ones we wanted to see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And so from there, we went to the Museum of Art. So from Spain, we traveled from Spain back to the UK, and we went to the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. And this, there was no particular work we wanted to see, but really it was just to kind of continue a relationship we had with this museum that started with Tawake Whaiana at you got a
Cambridge
common
University.
Oh yes,
At Cambridge University.
Koia malo pito mufangeha kumolotu. So this Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology is part of Cambridge University in Cambridge, UK. So in 2010, Tawake Whaiana was awarded a Commonwealth residency. Tawake Whaiana, you want to touch on that residency while we're here, or?
Alo malo kolokesa. Rukori ke hupanga ngai Tala Koula ko si awhake tu me tau. Pota tala I whewhiniga whainua ki tāna ki adbe ki ku homatala whakapua ni ko whakahoko. Urahe bewangi mea ke mono atu ko tau kamanta pe mua ki ngau kena lawa whakahoko he wafe hofulu ki he University kono Cambridge. Na whae ki kore kau ki he whiauhi koni Commonwealth. Awa le fito ki he aati. E na maua ki whangamari ke whaki mai me he Commonwealth ke u wala mua Filipe ha whanua he Commonwealth ke whai beha ki ngau e poka whakatotolo pe koe hape ki haki ngau e whatua ko ha whainga ke tau whawhetongi pe tau pe whatawaki a ngai ilo ko ia mi he tau ki motu o he ki he ilo o whanua pe i he Commonwealth. Ne whai pe ai tohi holo ke he whaitu ke heke pe i he komineweri. Kana whai kore ki he kōrisi koni ko e Arthington Davy, he scholarship by Arthington Davy, pepe he ki he university koni o Cambridge na wahawhana maari e tuku mai ke whai ha ki ngawe patotolo i he tau u koloa ne o siwhetuku ki muri. He kawomi koni ki mu atu he taimi e kau misinare. O mo whano no siofi au koloa ko ia pa whairewa pa whakawafua rewa ke whai ha whakatotolo ma whekumi mo whau ha ungawe who o ke lava o toi whafoki mai pe ano whamanatu mai u koloa ko ia ku ave o tauhi e mesiume ko ni. Lava toi ki whanonga o nofo mai ngai tolu. Pea konga ena o e whawhetongia i lo pepe he ki he uwhaiwa mai tufunga. Ko awena mo uvanga e ako me lotu. Whai ma tawalunga. Whakaha ki he ka ngau e koina mesiume pepe he ki he University of Cambridge. Ko University o Stephen Hawkins. E tau i lo pepe he ki he tau whakamasi lai e mo e ngai i lo koina e whai tufunga pepe he ki he nima mea. Ko e tantai ki ena ko te vita e te whakatomata u ko tamai a Kennedy ko si malolo ka na whewhia lahi a pito e si hawa tangata e ki o kau he whanoro mai ko ia o tokoni mai ke he whahoko e ngawe lahi whau e koni si lava mai a kolokesa whai hono ki reiki o tokoni pe ki hauwhanga ki hono whai a ngawe lahi whau e koni. Mana o si ai peta u ki ka programa re ti o ki mu atu. Nei o si whahoko e ungawe koni e lava whahoko i he university koni. Ta koe mema o inga koe lava e whainga maari e ke sino ki he ukolo koni. Kawa e ukolo koni ne o si lava ke a kolo kesa ki mua. Lahe pito e kolo ata whanga kui. Pe tau matu a ki mua atu. O ave he kamisinare pe he ke kau wholau. Pokatofua pepe ke hoka e sila ki mua. O ave o tuku he ngai whanua koni. O hei tau toi ilo na dolu waika tau koloa pehe. Ai aku hange ko e rea kua whātaku a pe ko e maunga koloa he ni more. Ai aku mahinu mai te ku mahu sai ke tau o ke tau koloa koni ku more o whahawhe kumi. Ke o mai mai ilo koe whafoke mai he ko ilo pe e tau whangakui. Maka ko ngalahi e ki ngā ua kona e le lava le rea tu whakahoko e Cambridge. Ka e te whafoke at pe mua e whipuru ki a kolkesa ke hoko atu. E toki whai ha tāna ki atu anana iane e ngā ua whakawofa koina kau tukunga tohi. Mo e whanga maare koina ko tuku mai e Tala Koula.
Koe kawa ana no whakahawa o whakaariari koe misiume e University Cambridge. Ai na e whakausia ke fui tau lunga koe ni. Pālo pe hao e ma tam tau lunga.
Malo pito tawakaiana, malo pito hufahea kumalotu. And yes, so that was the trip just to reconnect. Like what Tawakaiana shared, that was 2010, his residency, and you had my father-in-law, Kenneth, Dad, Devita, Papavahatuai join us, and that's with Melisene, who was quite young. But we wanted to make that trip because you've got the image on the right, our youngest, Takasime Mwana, Tula Kembilisi. She's named after, that moment, that visit, and in remembrance of Kenneth's dad, Devita, and we wanted to take them both to not only see Cambridge, Gembilisi, but also to reconnect with the staff. So you have Anita here, and Anita and, her name escapes me.
Rachel
Malopito, yeah, and Rachel Hand. Anita, yes. Malopito. Yes, so they were there when we first visited in 2010, and again, and we got we used the opportunity to also look at what they had, and they also wanted to check some information with Whangahako Malotu. And as part of that, Tauiwa, we wanted to gift them and add to the collection. So anyone else of our community go and visit, you'll see our collections as added. And it was 2 kava cups and fangu that was made by Tawake Whaiana that we gifted. So that was Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. And our last museum was the British Museum in London. And I think out of all the museums, I would come across, for those of you who are familiar with our Tongan literature, you've got the late Adrian Kepler, who has written a lot on aspects of our Tongan favour and also material culture that covers tufunga and nima mea. And I had asked her, because it was obvious she'd gone to a lot of these museums, which museum would hold the best of our Tongan koloa, and she was saying that was the British Museum. And it was, I think we only scratched the surface on the collection that they had, but these are some of the examples that Whangahako Lotu and I saw, and we were hosted by Jill Hassel, who's in this image on the right-hand side. So their collection storeroom is in a different place from the museum. So these are some of the koloa, amazing. We only had a couple of daes, so tried to go any.
Ko comment on that met, please.
Oh yes. Noitawaheako.
Yo, marapito krokes. Koe foi pala koe ni beng ma koe tau wala whakawofau bito ko nei whaki ki a Captain Cook he taha ene ngai ahi mai koe ki tonga. Mo wakai mai pe e kainga tonga e whakaofa ngai kupesi u hātu i he whala koe ni. Ai au koe ki utu e mau u hae u kupesi koe ni tonga he ahon. Ka koe u kupesi koe ni koe u kupesi ene e tau whangakui i he kua hiripa ku toi hātu pe i he whala koe ni. Ai tua vale au i iki ai whakaofa koe ana e whamatara ki a hufanga hea ko mwelo tuki mua. Pe koe ku ki tohi koe a koe na ku whau koe marking indigeneity ko ku unu e fo i kupesi koe a me kupesi koe na i loto maari e o ku hātu koe na i loto maari e me i he whala whakaofa koe na i whaki ki a Captain Cookie. Ka o ku toton beke tau toi whakafoki mai u kupesi koe na. U kupesi koe na ku more kotoa.
E lawa ke o utokanga te kupesi e tolu pe wha pe kitana ka pe whamore la e mautawa ya.
Yo, hu mai.
Ko e manuluan na ko asiai. Ko e amo kofe. Ko whakahihifi. Ko e whatau tui tonga mo hafua. O kutai whaalaua, ka ki nihi peko kwa tonga ia, o holo Scott.
Koe kau kuhange u whakawhotunga ke he mai nau asi mai koe ni i he mea. Hange koe manulua koe nei loto, pepe he ki he amo kofe. Whakawhofa o pito ene haa mai ko hange u tue ki i furihi koe nau ku whakawhofa ene haa mai.
Ari.
Koe ape.
Malo pito. Noitawaheako, Whangahako Malotu. So just flick through examples here. Again, Kakamoskaka. And I think that was my highlight, was seeing this kupesi on our Kakamoskaka. And again, we saw it with these round ones. Koia malo. Oh man. And this, I think, Upangako Malotu, I'll let you, do you want to talk to this? Whangwhangu?
I was going to ask you to comment on the longest whangwhangu ever made in Tonga and the whole world, I think. Too long that you have to have 4 hands to play the whangwhangu. That whangwhangu in the middle there, eh? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you want to mention the image on the right?
Yeah, obviously they didn't ask the player of the Fanfangu, but that was Tuila Pusiaki, the son of the famous Willie Pusiaki, who with Futa led the Koula Six Nation Tour of Europe in 1987. And I think he was given the rare chance of playing that hugely long fanfango. But unfortunately, they didn't have the name. I believe the curator took note of that. But it was Tuila Pusiaki.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the Guardian or whatever.
The Independent. Kaya malo pito. So Fangfangu and Miniha, and I'll pass this on to you. This was one of my highlights, but I'll let you talk to this, please. Mawita Vayako.
Yo, malo pito kolokesa. Ko e Fangfangu no ku hai ai fangi kupesi tai o ai ko kupesi ko ni ai ko fangi ha mai ko fotunga ai tangata. Ka kuta he kupesi ko ni Fangfangu ni pa to ha fo ki fo ha I hapai pe mo i Hawaii ko ui fra Britania ko Petrol Cliffs ai ko fangi cliffs pe ko fangi ata ko ni ai tangata pana ku kore ai ki fo I ata ko ni ke kawi tohi marking indigeneity pe tarma he British Bishop Museum ke totong yang e pangai wange au ni manoa pounds ke foi lai ata ko ni na ku fotografis tang au I kai he kai ki totong ya ko ko koloain e ku fanga ku ke totong ke totong ya ai ke totong mo ko lai ata pe wa ke nga ki pe ko ya ne o kai ke asi ai fang ko ni he tohi ka fanga ofa pito a hono ta fra ta ke kupesi ko fangi tangata fotunga tangata ai ko Petroglyphs ne framatala ke te awe Steven I Fehoko me haano o kui whakatonga ai whahinga fonga ko niko vau ai kono vau I he maka peto vau pe ki he fangfang ai ko tufunga vau mahalo kono ui
Pea mola ana I he fo iawa fo I whangwhangu. Ai a te tau te lau pe ui koe mata awa, Koe kupe.
Ia, alo pito mawita vayako.
Koe ki tāna kisi pe koe kapani mo whatuanga I koe style la koni o bau koni. O ko specific pe he ki fo I ke ki kulupu koni pe ko hai ana tolo I Hawaii before. O Hawaii ki he mantu I koe ukonga ke he tonga ko ke Asia ai faina style la koni pe koe faina technique koni o maua ke u kupesi koni me pe fatonga I ku mahino mai ko matakari koni ko na faina ko takohin ko na rea e na kupesi o me alu o hu ke ta fa ke koni na fononga ai o lava ko o te ko takia a foa a vai pepe ke fanfango ko ni manau pahinga foto ma ko ni na ta ko hi na ko pesi na ko be
yo ko mai ho
I foi ki ai ona ngai foi ulu ka fora he ona ko ngaloto ai aguas mai ai a mahuinga ka tonga kai tonga
aku hanga o tapatolo ai ko ngaloto ai ka tapatolo fo ko tau te ha pe fo he tau ku pesi ka ko me le tana ku fratonga ko maga na ko tau fonga tohi enda tau tolu he ko hiko hieroglyphic ai ka ispite pe he ki he Chinese character na kamata ko to be ko funky ata pe to ki alway pe o mo abstract ai ka pa te tau kumi ha tau fu fahinga fonga tohi ko te ma ko kamata ne tau fai he nei ko fa matala langi toto helu ka te au na de pe na nau ngawe a ken I hapai ki hono rekoti, e ngahi historia o hapai, whora o hataha, maroro o hataha, panana o mai rewa tā e ni he u maka koitahi. E koe u maka itahi u pāi, pat koe ni kutoi hape i he whangwhang.
Malo, Peter. So from there, our trip ended. This is the traveling crew still smiling, and we concluded our research trip on the 13th of July 2015. So I think just sort of reflecting back on that, while a lot of our koloa are housed in museums, you know, it takes the knowledge that's held within our living communities to breathe life back into it. Just like with what Maui Tawahe ako, because I think I was not familiar with these, and in posting it, because we shared it online, they allowed us to, where then Maui Tawahe ako contacted and shared a little bit more context. So I think that's kind of what happened post this trip, is then how do we take this knowledge that we gained and experience that we gained from this trip and bring it and share it with a wider community, and how do we revive some of our koloa, and that's what happened with the tukipitu. So this, you know, we arrived in July, September. We shared with sort of had a session where we shared with our community here in Aotearoa, and then in October we took part in the Pacific Arts Association. So earlier in this talk, we had attended the Pacific Arts Association Europe chapter, which was on in July. So this is the Pacific Arts Association Pacific chapter that Tonga hosted in that same year in 2015 in October, and that was an opportunity for Ahufangheako and Molotu and I to share insights on where we're at with this research. And also his project with Tuiwhanua Lava Kaivelata is running on the same side, and so he brought that knowledge. Tuiwhanua Lava, you know, was like, you know, crafted these tukipitu, and I think these were made here in Aotearoa and took to Tonga, Ahufangheako Molotu.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Malo. Yes. So that's it. So it was played, and I don't know when the last time they heard tukipitu in Tonga, but you know, that was played by, I forget the name of the group. Pangako Melotu, who were the members of the group?
The Polaosi group from Kanukupolu.
Yeah. Malo Pito. And we, the presentation that Hupangahako Molotu led was Tonganat's Whaiva Tufunga Ni Mamea. And then the following year, in 2016, they had the main, so this Pacific Arts Association, every year annually, all the different chapters do their own conferences, but then every 3 years they have the main conference, and this was hosted just by chance. You know, it was good alignments with everything we're doing. It was hosted by Tamaki Pangahira, Auckland Museum, of which I was a staff member, one of the curators there, where they held their 12th International Symposium. And again, Mufangahako Molotu and Tuiwhanua Lava Kaivelata and his collective had the opportunity to share about their project and provide insights, but also for the audience to hear the sound that is produced by the tukipitu that was made based on that trip, but also the mimiha. So Tuiwhanua Lava made some mimiha and the whangwhangu. So those three instruments, as well as others, were played and performed as part of that conference. So looking at different platforms where we can share the progress of this project, but also share the revival that was happening with the making and playing of our instruments based on what we saw while overseas. Are we still good for time, Maui Tawahako?
Overtime.
So again, this is the group, and then from there, so the project that Hufangheako Molotu and Tuiwhanua Lava were involved in, every opportunity. So from conferences to, this is our Polyfest, the annual Polyfest that takes place here in Aotearoa in 2016, and then they also performed at the Pacific Heritage Arts Whono which was hosted by Moana Roa Pacifica Arts Centre. And again, this is in November 2016. And here we've got Maloni, the late Maloni, who contributed to this journey. Sorry, Tutuila, Malo. And from there, we are in 2017 with the launch of the special issue of Pacific Studies on what was then called Tawa Time-Space Theory of Reality. Mai tawa he ako, pufanga ako malotu, you want to share a little bit about this? Or shall I go on?
Maui, tawa ako.
Io, sai peka ki tānaki no peka, ai koe mau fufu a pāki e ni o e mau ngahi u tohi whakawaki pia mo e tāwa. Ai nei whakahoko ia i he uanoa tāwhitu. Nei ai pē e ngahi u tohi ki mua nei mo e ngahi u artikolo nei whao. Ka kona toki whakatahataha e ni o ia e mau whi isiu pē taha e se noroko ni i he wā whi tāwhitu. O kawai, ai ko mau tolu pē tonga nei, kau mai ge mo e kau haa moa mo e ngai matakari ke. Ai au nau rolo tonga ngawe ake ai tāwa i he taimi ko ia. I think that's all I'll share for now, Kokesa.
Mo e wafe ua taha ko e isi umake he ua ia.
Ia, go ahead.
Kala noa i ki he whawha mo e aonga. Ata mai mo e loto,
Yep, malopito. So again, because this book, So Whakatonga e Ati Whakatonga, Tongan Views of Tongan Arts, embedded in that is the Tawa time-space theory, now philosophy of reality. So, the connection to the significant milestone of this, the launch of this special issue, to then, again, an opportunity to showcase and share the instruments, but also the sounds made by these instruments as part of this launch, of which there's David Faiana, Meliseni, Wakimaka, Tuifono Lava Kavelata San, and Ufangahako Molotu. And then, there are other projects that, Mauita Vaheako was also, working on and fed into it. But this, the launch of his publication, Marking Indigeneity, the Tongan Art of Socio-Spatial Relations, is that, again, was once launched that same year and has fed into this Sio Whakatonga Ati Whakatonga publication. So from there, there were all these other opportunities here in Aotearoa. We celebrate language weeks, and so this was the Tongan Language Week in 17. So opportunity to again showcase. You've got the tukipitu on the right, and that's there. You've got a whole array of the instruments there for that occasion. And so, Whangahaku Malotu, what was the name of the group that you collaborated on with this one? The Kanokupolu Trust?
Trust, in New Zealand Trust.
Go ahead. Malopito. So, and other things. So other little projects, as well as running projects that we were involved in. We were supporting some of our Tongan creators, and two of these Tongan creators, Sione Monu and Manu Ha'apai Vaetangitau, were two that would pull in on us to come and support the exhibition. So this was an exhibition by Sione Monu, of which has some of the photographs and his work of Nimamea Tui Kahoa Kakala, which he's taken a different sort of take on it, and some of these images are in the publication, but again, these two collaborate. And so these are two works, that the top two works are drawn and inspired by images that they see online. And you can see that, some of the images like Tuitonga Pau with the Palata Vake and the Katomoskaka, the images that have circulated, it's come back and they're using it as their draw, sort of their source to then create these amazing drawings that they did, which again links to the one of the topics that we looked at, the Helu, in our book. And from there, another publication that was published before this Tongan art book, and this was in 2000. It started, the journey was 2016, 2019, and this book was a book that I co-authored. Yep, 2019. Yes, Hufanga Molotu. Go, yeah.
2019.
18? 19, go, yeah. So the whole research for this started in 2016, and as that part of that research, and what's key with this publication is the coining and the use of the term One Oceania. So this book is called Crafting Aotearoa, A Cultural History of Making in New Zealand and the Wider One Oceania. And this was really kind of, it was a challenge that was posed to us by Hufanga Molotu, who is a contributor to this publication, as well as Mauita Vaheako, for us to look critically at some of these Western terminologies. And one of these terms is the term Pacific. And so what are our own terminologies? And, you know, bringing together people where we look critically and discussed it, and what we came out from as a result of this publication was the coining of the term One Oceania, which is a term that we use. You would have heard all of us use it, but also in particular the work that I'm involved in with Langi Mama, together with Tolu Ma'anave, Barbara Makwati Afitu. So this is just to show that this publication was happening, and our Tongan views of Tongan art, Siwhakatonga, Ati Whakatonga, helped shape some of the thinking and approaches that fed into this, because I was the one tasked with bringing in our One Oceania lens to this publication. And I'm always pulling in on both Mauita Vaheako and Hufanga Molotu. And I think just also acknowledge that Mauita Vaheako's contribution in his text in this publication was called The Ancestors of the Arts, is what he then elaborated on for one of the chapters in this book, Sio Whakatonga, Ati Whakatonga, which I think is really amazing and insightful for what we were doing, but also for it to be included in this publication. And from there, these are my fellow co-authors, various research trips to feed into it, and links to that publication. So as Hufanga Molotu said, we launched Crafting Aotearoa in 2019, and one of the co-authors, so together, was Carl Chitham as well as Dr. Damien Skinner. But Carl Chitham is on this image here on the left, and he's the director of the Das Art Museum, and he wanted to do an exhibition that linked to that publication, which was called Mua, New Lineages of Making, and that was on from June the 6th to October 11, 2020, and asked me to come on board as to co-curate it with him. So he wanted me to advise on some artists that could be included, and we included Tuifonua Lava Kavelata, where we showcased his mimiha, whanguwhango, and tukipitu that he made. And also we showcased Tala Fungani Finau, who's on the right, where with her practice of making nima mea tui kahoa. And this is made out of chocolates, this particular work here. So yes, so just to say that while we're still journeying, everything that has landed...
Hello, Gesha. It's in the exhibition named Mua, the past in the front, not Moa. Moa is another different thing.
I'm sorry, you didn't hear me. I said Mua, which is the Maori name. Mua for us, but Mua for Maori. And yeah, yes.
Moa.
No. Okay, so from moving on, and then you come to the birth of Langi Mama Academy and Consultancy, of which I had the privilege of co-founding with Tolu Ma'anave, Barbara Makwati Afitu, and a lot of the work that we do since we were birthed, so we're in August 2018, we're slowly going through. feeds into what, has informed has been informed by a Tongan views of Tongan arts, but also the name was gifted to us by Hufanga Hako Malotu. And just to go through some of the projects that, had benefited from the fact that we had started this research on this publication, and then enabled us and allowed us to look critically at sort of the current situation, especially, the current context within culture and heritage and arts. And as a result of us already starting our work on Sio Whakatonga, Ati Whakatonga, Tongan views of Tongan arts, we were asked to come in and advise on a Pacific view on arts, and we said, there's no such thing as a Pacific view, and for in Aotearoa we have 17 plus ethnic island nations that have diaspora communities in here in Aotearoa. Therefore there will be 17 plus different views on what art is. And we've got an example from Tonga. So we were able to share on the research we were doing, and that then kickstarted us on this journey, which we've called in a project which is still ongoing today, and it's called Arts of Moana Oceania. And we had a Talk Story Tuesdays, of which, again, Hufanga Hako Molotu and Maui Tāwahe Ako has fed into, but we are up to number 18, where we've just completed Samoa, and we are going through to ensure that we have everyone that have communities here. So that's been the impact of this research. And also another one is Unity and Diversity, Diversity and Unity. And this was looking specifically at these images that you see here online, and these are images by John Weber, who was the artist on Cook's Third Voyage. And again, if you see the image on the bottom left, that's our Tuitonga Pau, and he has been his name has been recorded as something else, and just sort of the knowledge around all of these early images, early observation knowledge is in some cases inaccurate, and also it's a Western lens. And how do we bring in our Indigenous lenses, and our knowledges and practices to sit alongside? At the moment, it's widely used globally, including here in Aotearoa, referenced, where there is a cycle of reiterating and perpetuating the same information, irrespective of it being inaccurate, and they only know what they know because they're only referencing what's there. So how can we change that is bringing in our views, and this project enabled us to look critically at just the third voyage and just these island nations, which Tonga was included, Cook Islands, Mangaia, Tahiti, Hawaii, and Aotearoa. And again, that was sort of ignited by this research for this book on Sio Whakatonga, Ati Whakatonga. And this is part of the research where we looked at these prints in libraries. So this is the Auckland Central Library, and again with Toyo Tamaki, with the assistance of Ron Brownson, who is in this image here on the bottom. And then we delivered it. I think that's one of the key things is how do we engage those that hold the knowledge on these images that can contextualize it from our views, but also how do we share it out? And this was our way of sharing it out. Was we had a Talanoa Thursday session, which was a live Zoom, just like how we're on this platform, and brought these holders of knowledge to then share. And this was our Aotearoa holders of knowledge. From there, we went. There was a major, I think it was August 2021, where the Aotearoa New Zealand government, carried out an event to formally as a formal apology to the Dawn Raids period, which took place in the 70s. And I think at this stage, you would have seen earlier the projects, especially the one that Hufanga Hako Malotu and Tuifonua Lava Kaivelata and others who picked up around our whangu, and hearing the sound, which is a very melancholic sound, was starting to be, out there. And I think those that were involved in organizing this event wanted that sound to attach it to this gathering as part of what they we're showcasing on that day. And I think Hufanga Hauko Molotu was contacted because of that very reason. And I think he was trying to draw in others. And as a result, he couldn't for that time and space. So when he can't find people, that he can pull in, he draws on his granddaughters, and this is Melisania and Akasine Mwana, and they perform themselves. But, the amazingness of, again, having our Tongan whanguwhangu and hearing the sound of the whanguwhangu that's incorporated into this major event that was national-wide as well as global, just speaks to the revival of our knowledge and views, but also our sound. So that was 2018, and I'll just go through this quickly. This project, I think on this program, Maui Tawaiako, you've already had a couple of sessions looking specifically at this this concert, which is Koe Pohiwa Tu'uwhanua Whakatonga, a night of Tongan classical music, and it was performed by Whiohianga Halonga Yakalaisi Collective. And the main sort of focus on this, which was a project that was initiated by Hufanga Hauko Molotu, was how do we bring the context that happens within the context of a kava context, club context, within the halls and garages into a theatre space, so mainstream and others can have access to see the beauty that happens in here. So, this project took place, a concert as well as a publication that then has informed and is included in our publication as well. And just to quickly go through, this is all Langimama related projects, which our Sio Whakatonga Ati Whakatonga publication has helped to inform, because for those of you that have already accessed and seen this publication, we have taken a Tongan approach in terms of how we've structured the publication. And so those things that we were doing with our publication, we were also saying to our other communities that we're working with, you don't have to to publish your books in your standard publication. You can do it in any way you want. So this is a project that we work with our one of our Niuean community groups here. They're called Whalepipi Hemafola Niuean Handcraft Group, and in celebration of their 30th anniversary, we published this publication called Whenonga Taonga Niue i Aotearoa, Heritage Journey in Aotearoa. And when you flick through the publication, it's structured as if you would, are going to a Niuean event, where you start off with, a welcome by the chairperson, and then you have a prayer by the Reverend, and then you have the speakers, which from guests to the elders to the young people, to then a closing prayer, to then have the Niuean national anthem. So that's how this publication is structured, and I think just to show that's been the impact of this Sio Whakatonga Ati Whakatonga book, even though it hadn't been published at this stage. This was 2023, but it has informed other projects, and including this project.
500-page award-winning book.
Yes, this is a 500-page. Thank you, Hufanga Hauko Molotu. It has, yes, and self-published. Like our publication, this was self-published by this book, this group under Mafola Press, which is their second publication, and that's part of the work that we do as Langimama, is to navigate existing publishing arms, but also enable our communities and empower them if they want to set up their own publishing arms, and also help them with the production and pulling in all our networks to come in and contribute to the making of this book. So that was the publication which Hufanga Hauko Molotu said, yes, it was shortlisted for some of our key awards, including our design award for the design, which was carried out by Alt Group, one of the organizations we collaborate with. And this, did you want to touch on your group, Hufanga Hauko Molotu Kata Nectar?
Oh, you can just brief, say it in brief.
I'll say it in brief. So this is another project. Hufanga Lotu loves to gift Langi Mama various projects of which we then pull in Maui Tāwaiako. So this was one of them. So, Hufanga Lotu collaborated with Dr. Siosifa Tualau Fifita, and I think they've had a program on this show as well, speaking specifically to the work that they're doing with Kata Nectar, where my apologies, what is your name? I know that the acronym is Kata Nectar, but what is the Tongan in English?
Ko taha ko ta whangwhangu tonga Aotearoa. Nectar. Nose fruit education, something tonga Aotearoa.
Malo, yes. So they, this is how they table. We've got this project. Please, Langi Mama, we've got a group. This is some members of the Kata Nectar, which were in the recording studio. We just sorry?
With a publication.
Yes. Well, that's how it was pitched. We're it's all around the whangu and we're wanting to look at both the major and the minor sound, and it's just a small selection of songs, and we want a publication, but also a bilingual publication, but also we want to record the songs and put it on SoundCloud. We're like, okay, so that's what we did. And again, supporting this project has taken on, I think, from the foundation and other projects that Hufanga Komolotu and Tufonua Lava started off, of which he then went off on his journey. And so this has then helped, kind of inform the contents that's in this book, Sio Whakatonga, Aote Whakatonga. We have included Kata Nectar in it as well. And then again, so Noelea Tongan communities, Langi Mama love to work with all of our Waramana Shene communities, including our minority ones, and Kiribati is one of them, of which we have here Gaitata Watson and Louisa Humphrey, MNZM, and these two mamas, in their early to mid 70s, we've walked alongside for over 10 years, and including them is that, as a result of what we're doing, what we did and the journey we took with our book, Sio Whakatonga, Aote Whakatonga, we were able to say to these two mamas, you can unapologetically take a Kiribati view and a Kiribati approach on what you want to do. So we helped them set up their own publishing arm called Te Rapakau Press, and this is their second publication where it's, we've empowered them and helped them not only set it up, but, trying to capacity build their community on what publishing involves, but also how to gather and encourage their communities to author and write their own stories and then put it in the publication, which is then accompanied by an exhibition. So we've done two with these two groups, and this is their second publication in 2025. And the same thing with West Papua, which is led by, you've got Veronica Kanem here, who is in the centre, and she's a PhD student at University of Auckland, and her research is focusing specifically on the Homuyu tribe in southern West Papua. Her father's from the Muyu tribe and her mother is Indonesian, and her PhD is looking at the destruction of their customary lands, the deforestation that's happening of their customary lands. And as a result of that, it's impacting the trees, which is the Ganemo trees, of which is the bark that they make their string bags, which is quite a key bag to their cultural practice, social and cultural practices. So Veronica had approached MFAT, and MFAT, with the whole political situation in West Papua, MFAT goes, go to Langi Mama. Langi Mama can help you. And of course, we are there to help wherever we can. And so this was part of Veronica wanting to give back to her peoples in terms of how can she share the knowledge and practices of her people. And she really just wanted an exhibition. And we said, I think it'll be important to have a publication as well. And that's what we did. And again, the learnings and approach that we took with our book, Sio Whakatonga, Aote Whakatonga, was then helped shape and inform the approach that we took with this project together with Veronica. And so circling back to where we started with this Ngatuta Uli, I think just to say, the importance of why it is important for us to bring in our own views on what art is from our perspective, and bringing in our knowledges and practices to foreground that when it comes to talking about our koloa and sort of the problematic nature of some of our history that is currently sort of misrepresented and inaccurate, because we don't have that our knowledge is out there. And with this, I had shared on the information that was dodgy relating to this, which is then linked to this ngatu tāuli that both Whangahako Molotu was helped advise, but also Tawake Whaiana, we pulled him in, just in a similar approach that we did with Benjamin Work and Whaunitenio and Mo'ui Collective that I touched on earlier. Tawake Whaiana provided the motifs and the structure of the patterns on this ngatu tāuli, and then we had this group here, Kulupu Palehanga i Te Leiloa, who helped us to make this ngatu tāuli, of which I was involved in, along with some of my mothers and other members of the family, linked to the Takamotonga and also the Fisis there too. But this was the handing over ceremony. So in the making of this ngatu tāuli, we completed it, and when we completed it, and this was on, in June, around early June in 2011, Kenneth's dad, my father-in-law, Devita, passed away. And I think the connection, because these women here, after the making of it, I'd go back and I'd share with Devita the progress, where we were up to. So he passed away when we completed it, and the women of the group said, why don't you, because it was commissioned by Queensland Art Gallery of Modern Art, Quagoma, and they said, why don't you ask the gallery and your contact, how do they feel about you utilising, putting this into use in our context, a Tongan context, before it then is acquired into their collection. And that's what we did. We included it as part of his tokaanga, and that's one of my mums, two of my mums there, Kolokesa and also Monica, helping to fold it, and then myself and Meleha Amua, my older sister, and my mum Tutanga, folding it in preparation for Devita's tokaanga. So we were able to use it before it was then. We had this ceremony, which was the handing over ceremony. We had members of the Queensland Art Gallery come to Aotearoa so we can officially do a handover of this ngatu tāuli. So I think just sort of linking, the mediating that happens with institutions and communities, and their openness, to things where, are you open for us to actually put it into practice before you acquire it? And therefore it adds to the history in terms of how it was made, who made it, but also what it was used for. And that was linked to that. And I think going back to then bringing it back to our publication, where all of this, despite, I think, one of the key things, there's a whole discussion around repatriation, how do we access and bring back some of our koloa that's held in museums overseas. And I think the journey around this, which fed into this publication, and the research trip that Whangahako Molotu and I had gone in 2015, and we were able to access and view and hold and play and some of our koloa. But it's our living communities that have this, are the holders of these knowledges and practices. They are the key to the reviving and bringing back and continuing to maintain some of our practices, whether it's in the context of whaiva, tufunga, ni manea. And I think embedded into this publication, but also these are the two that designed it. Sean Naufaho and Giordano Zata from Alt Group. And I think just to, this was earlier in I can't believe this was early in February. Maui Tawahahako came over, and that was the first date to launch this book, and we didn't quite make it, but this is us still refining. So on the left, Maui Tawahako had come over specifically, for this, but ended up we had a Tawa gathering instead, but also we looked and updated, met up with Geo and refined what was needed. And then on the right is me and Jansen Chow, who is part of Alt Group, holding up the first. We had 2 advanced copies that were sent to us. One sent to Devita in Hawaii and to our designers, but also this is Tolumanave Barbara Makwati Afitu, where our first stop was to hand over the publication, because Ufangeako Molotu, I don't think he thought he would ever see it in real life. So we made sure that he was the first stop and said, here is the book. And I think this is an image of the 3 of us at the book signing on Friday, August 22nd. And I think just want to acknowledge the journey that I've had with these 2. It's I think I've had the privilege of not only just kind of riding on this waka while Hufangahako Molotu and Maui Tawahako brought in their knowledge and expertise, which informed our journey, and I just was there to navigate and pulling things together, and I think just want to acknowledge both of them for their patience, but also for Maui Tawahako for pulling him in halfway through to say, if he could come on board officially. We draw him into every project we've been involved in, and I think just to acknowledge that and everyone that has contributed to our journey, including Tawake Whaiana, who has, we pull in to commission, images that do not exist to illustrate the publication. So, yeah, that's it from me, Maui Tawahako.
Can I make a brief comment on that image?
Yes, go ahead, Hufanga.
In relation to the logo of Rangimama, the predominance of red and black, Kula and Uli, is a celebration of the usage of those 2 colors, fundamental colors in Tongan and Mono-Oceanian arts across the 3 genres, as in Vela and Momoko as forms of red and black uli and kula and uli in Whaiva Taanga, Whaiva Hiva, Whaiva Haka, Kafa Kula and Kafa Uli in the Tufunga material art of Tufunga Lalawa. And in fine arts, we have the Coca-Cola and Tonga Uli. In the fine art of bark cloth making or kokanga, just to inform our audience and the Tala Koula radio for why we wore and display red and black.
And Mana Academy Mana Academy's uniform is red and black. So many of our Mana Academy are also listening to our radio program, and the students, so that they know why they're wearing red and black uniforms.
I know.
Yeah, and just to add, Malopito Whangak Molotu and Maui Tawahako, that the work behind, because we had some works, that's included in the book, also on display on the day of launch, and the one that's on our backdrop is called Vei Mao Matala, of which was designed by Tawake Whaiana and embroidered. So, Nima mea atui tupenu by Kolokesa Kulike Futupo and Hulita Tupo, so that, particular work, and using the red and black, and that was included in that Home AKL exhibition that I had started off this talk with. So, Malopito.
Malopito, Kolokesa. Thank you. Iwan, what is our time? Who the Wolf Chaos at our time?
Tuli tau.
What is the Kamoi my Pehomea one? Oh,
You go right ahead.
okay. Yeah, okay. So maybe another 15 or 30 minutes.
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, malo. Tuhi firma pe haki taimi ki a ufanga ya ko malotu pepe ki a tabake payana ke na fai mahana tala noa ke tau tohi.
Ogu go to ben.
Iyo.
E moroto ata pe ke hu mai ata wak fai ana o tala noa tau te fito ki whatapau ki he ne tisaini koena u sati whafofa na ki tāno ke ai mauta hea. Pe mo ngahi I misi, mo ngahi ata o ka pau o mau pa kai pa tuki ai atua nai pe. Ke hu mata wak fai ana kau toki talangata atua. Ua ko talangata.
Iya, tabak payana ho mai o ki whahau ki tā no mai ke ngai u ta whako ia.
No, awa bito. Sai bege ki share screen, unga fua pe.
Iya. Ho mai mo share
pe ko.
Iya.
Ko PDF pe ko e bisi ko na ta unga ki. La posia mai he.
Ia fofa.
Iya. O haka pe u ata ko ni ke tau sia ko u ata ni ku loto he tau.
E tohi,
e tohi. E ku ata ko ni ki he malawa mai lahi. Wasko e. Ko loto. E tonga ko ni ule hari aki. Te kamata be mu ame tu pe mu ke kamata me tau cosmogony ko tau tala tu whakaholo. Uma inga pito he lahi pito e ngau e ke whai ki hen. E una wo si hange ko e whamatala ko ni mau ta wa ya ko pe ki a fanga ya ko a mo lotu ko e whakata ni ka muri ki hono foto to go ni me ko family tree ko ta nga ke foki e ta tolu ke re ko ni ko e hoko ani ko ta fai ko di he ta whakata haki e ta hoko ya ta o ta uma whakatonga o te whala ka ta ko de me pe fai ko hoko Aku kau mamari ben ke tau sio ke tafe ko ni ai toto I he tau ngawe ko ni ke tau tu whakaholo me hafua ai to ki te mahala ke ahu whana pe he ki a mau ta ba ko pe mau inga opito e tau ngawe ko ni ki hono beteki mai e tau tu whakaholo Umanga mari han tau tala noa mo tau tala ki ka matanga ko bahano ko moana ko tahi au pe matangi ai ya o mai he ngai rea ko na tau he tau tala ko tau kakai nai fora holo ngai moana dai ure ka to ben mi moana pe ha wai pe hi fo mai ali mo kere aki polot a mai ki a to ia futuna o la ia pito ngai rea te tau fe mau ke tau bete me ai hoko ni tau tu holo e rangi fu no folo he me pena fe mau ke lava ki ai ko e tafe ai toto pa pe ai ko tau tu holo mo e ko fo ngai de ula he nga ki ka muri ko fe tree o lava ke tau hanga o nga ki tau hangi ata ke tau fa matala e tau hoko mo ki mo ba tau to ke nga ki ai ko ni na tau nga ki pe ai hala ko holo hako mo hoko ia tau ulunga nga whakatonga. E hange ko tau tāno ko ki he ngatu uri mo tau tāno ke he hala. O ku whima upe ke tau. Ka whekumi lahi ki honu ngā ki ai hala ko hini ki he hala ko ni he whetuu. Mo e hange ko whalau waka, whalau itahi. Ko ngā ki ngā he mape ko ni ko tau hala I he baba. Mo e hafua ke tāno ki a hina mo haifua. Oku he si abile taimi ke tau pamatala ka koe tako hi koe ni tau o tau hako e wha koe ni hange koe ko tau tupuanga koe ni e wha koe ni hanga maari api e toi lolotoanga no o mai ho tau tala koe ni kau mahangan e kau mahangan hange koe tupuanga koe ni o piki mo kere au hawa kau havea matu tau lahi apito tau tupa ke pe moto whanongo i he tala o kohai ko au momo tau hanga he tau o hoko ko ni me tau sioro hako me tau tau tu whahau tau ke ngai hako e tau whangakui o tau lawa siu ai ki he tau tuu whakakatoa i o tau tala ko ni ko aion no ngai ata ai ko piki mo kere ia ko mahanga moia haua ke kau mahanga ko ni limu mo mai mo long noa umari apito pe fa ma fa na tau so hifo ki he tau o tau hoko kau tanga loa on tau na lai no foi langi pe ma ke tau bete ko fe langi ko ia mo e folau e tu o sio ke nau kono kainga i langi i ne fo i de vaka pe ko de u de toa we hafu ngai whamatala ke o tau tala hawai o ame ke mahanga ko ni ko fonu tahi mo fonu ut mo tau sio pe ke fonu ko tau whanga ko ye no ka me whanga tau fua abo hafua ka wai be u vaka mo hafua tau ukaria ne ui pena tol ko fonu ut mo fonu tahi ai u fema be ke tau ke ngawe pe ke lo tau fito ko pe to matolo a heria e tau tala ua fu sati koni tu imo dau logo ke onu lo to ai fopuri ngai teriaki o kuiai e lava o a man ai pe tau hoho come tau hoho ai tu ka tu ke ono palo fesa kon i tau tala ke na to ki fai ngau ko ia ka maui ani ko la ko na maui ta ba ya ko na to ni ko na nau no fomai ki he manda paki polotu i koloa babau paku mohina e ko te maria o maga talanga mo toki hoko me ai konga ko ia e kau tau whanga kui ko ina kau maui whakao siak lupe perpehe ki hei moana mo hai fua o hawa ia nā whanua ai ulahi apito o tau kainga unau lava o piki mai pe hoko mai ke he u kongo ke fui sa te lahi ko ni tafe mai e toto pe ke hoko o hoko e ta fanga ku ai o ki lave pe ia ki sisi ka tu o taula ke na hoko at whamatala ke hoko at ko ni pasaka ki hoko de ki tana ki pe ke lahi taimi ke ta u ata ko ni nei foke ai ngau hu fanga pe hege ma tawa he tau ma ke kone he aki pa ku hange ko ata ko mai tu ku mai o tau kaina ko ni niwa ai o mu to ko mala o vai lahi ko go faka tau o mai wow ko ni mau me natula ai ko puna ko ni ko malau mo ngau taholo ko i fonua o he fetu pe ko ni tu ai i niwa ai o na fe ka aki leva ta tano ke ai mau na wana nanga o fau na nanga o ilo ia to fo i area ki ko ni mai aki ai mantuna ko ni malau ke kana ko ni no fo ki fetu ko ni mego o fatupu ai foi ata ko ni o mai o fai aki nga o ko ni ki e tau tohi o hoka tu ki he aki ko ni ko la a pe mo e atu ai ko si komatala pe lo tohi ko ina la a ko ma fai o bulahi au pito pe tu ki ai loto mari pe ko le tolo tonga malo o e kautaki pe ko hau ai ko mai aki ai hatu ni pe ko tu ni ki na aki heli aki pe mo la a ta haon ki tano ki na fai bela again na ki palatava ke mono helu ai ko helu tu ni pe ko helu teu mone aki ko ni i manupuna aha mo fia mo fa ofa mo hina paki ko ia pe ko kula kula paki pe ko tawa ke toto to whahatano ke ongo taula i hono whawhikau aki ia pe mo kautaki pa pe he ki hatu mo ha eiki ai to ina toki hanga whaka iki ki atu ia ka mo soifo pe hono ngā aki he tohi hono whikau aki mo ngā aki mo whatonga mo ngā aki he matolu ai whopoto ngā ui loto heni ai mata pe mo e awa te ui lave si heni ki hangahi tapehe ko ha tengo na buanga toi utohi ba lahi kakai na lau pa mau aula ke ngai fehi anu te lahi ai kakai ma ko lau pepe si ulaki mo lau pepe si wa na na hanga o mai hana u faina na whakaukau pe hana feedback ke na ke tohi koni ai atifatonga kage de toki lavi si ke ka ko Hokato ne u ataki he tānoa koni o tangaloa ko tufunga. Ko o mai pe anawe koni ki he mata awa ki no tufunga ia nai ata koni. Ko maui ko tufunga petani ngaki ene toki. Bako no ngaki ko toki o kutaa toki. Bako toki ko ia o kuahano whainga kupesi. Ko ia ngata pe hene kupesi koni hono fotunga ka o kukawai mono kupesi koni i hono tautou hoko. Mo ko ado no nga ke ta ko me aku nga we re aku foka kau hen ai ata ko ni ai faina nga we na e fai heta fonga bui no nga ke kupesi ki hono tala foi matala foi kau ai be go da sio ai ngatu pe ke fala kupesi ko toa teu na e na aki e ke na do ko sio ko ai ko na ngau ko ia ko ke ke no ngau ko ni toki tangalo to funga ko na aki ko no ta tong pe no tof ai papa mo akau ke fai aki ni to funga o to ki ha wa be ko mai ge fu ai na te o mai ai fu papa o whātupu ake whanua i he kau. Take toke ke hei mo tau siu koni ki he whāni fō. Ko hanga he tangata whāni fō pe ko ne whaiwai ai fō i peau whopoto honu bilo mai o ne mea whai hanga he fō i ni fō o teke takai. Ko ni fō ko ni anu tua no vae ko papa whāni fō o ne mea whai ko ne hanga o whaiwai e hoi mata koe o peau vilo hanga hoi beteka o lawa ia no ngaue hange koni koe ulunganga ukupesi tau sio kia i he tau kupesi momoiki mo mata lalahi to alua ke momoiki hange kone vilo ia koe ai ngaue a kupesi ki alu ke momoiki ai no tau lawa sio ai amo si peke ke he kupesi koni hange peha hoi kupesi mata lahi peta ka ku kono fatongia ko no vilohi pe ko no whaiwai ai mata ko ia o peau ke tau whanga kui ko na hanga o fuanga aki ai whainga whaiwa ko ini o ki atu mui ko ko fufua kawa in ko pulotu o tupu me ko kawa ki tau tolu o tonga i ko tau tu ko kawa o tau tu ma pe poka fu poto o tapoto ko tau komite kawa o almo e fotungo do ni ko tau no foko i tau mafakawa o ko to ke moi ko tau no fope i tau baka alofi mo tau baka pela ba e ke ha eiki e lava me mai ke tau mafakawa wa fe tu go ia i he fohe ko ia ke tau baka ko tau no foka fonua no foka matakari no fokai ai agora o mai ko ni mo fatonga ai fogo fa hain kawa pe toko tolu o no foto do goni o he foto nga pe ko ia o mata pe ya sai me o se di fa matala ko hoka don ki fo reaction pe ko ai ka nga goni i he fe anga ma ku ki he hingo ko art e ku ke fa fiu ka koe wheke, ko tau tolu whuku na lahi taha tau nofu he wheke koni ke aki o na hanga ngā aki. Koe tō lahi na tau na pehe koni ke uike whaiwa, na tau pehe uike tō whunga. Ka wo o si lau ta uma nga o e ngo tau la ko ni. Fu fanga ya ko pe mo lot. Pe he kia maui mo hai fu ai ka u mato tu ko ni he tawa. Tai no fo mo ya tai lo lo na no fo filihi mo pokihi mo. Veri foi fa kau. Ai le batara ko ni no va bi te pe u pe to lo na o so hi foi ke ta ka fi pa ai foi lafo. Ai foi lafo ko que o que the reaction que tu vês is a matter of opinion the marshal opinion but the often la ba la time de no for o foki mo brivili mo magai en foi kau ko ya ai ko ta ko ko da no ki ai ko na fo fi ke ta na ake le a mata mo e aba to tari ne pe ka ga le fa ka tonga o si fa da be ho se te si gue o singa ke go fa ile ko mata mo ya ko ta mo ba gue la ba go re fa tonga ka ore ba ko nga aki ko la maria ya ta urea mo ngo ta urea o ku loto i nai fo tu ta fa nga kui ko ta mo ba ko da o mai mi he o ma mo ni me ko ko ia o mai o fa ka fi ai ai ofta ko no mai ano tape ano ata pitu ko na ta piloko e si o e ma furi e fa hoa mo pata tau kage te fa lo tu ka taimi ka mo kada pe ban ka fa mo le ki no kai si kai taimi ke tu ka taimi ke fa ya mo pa metala a de ofa la ya tu mi au ke mo do ka to pe he ke pa mareti o ya Tala Koula malo
Rota whaiana. Whawhoke atu ki a uwhanga ako mo loto ke whai mahan e a whangatuku ke tau tānoa.
Ki kore whakakina i mo whakahela mauta. E lawa nai e nisinia tai mai e mo ua ki hiwa.
Iyo. Ai haere ki Piritania.
Mo e sia fine sola.
Iyo.
Whakao se ua ai tolu mo wha an e alu e ose kurea.
Iyo.
E taimin?
Iyo, sabi ka baka ikaw, lama tayo may hiwa ko haere ki Piritania.
Ase haere ki Piritania mo e sia fine sola e whaiwa e whaiwa.
Iyo.
Ai whaiwa. Mo e whaiwa taanga. Kore pepe la una no pe.
Iyo, maro pito.
Ke tau ki Indamishinak.
Whakawaha mapa e?
Wakawaha mapa. Malo, engineer. Paugili lau no bege kukonga patau talangata ye. Na e fatua e tanga mari fau na e punake kakato ko pentu tu ila. Ono malari mo vikia. Aha e tahine o kuni salote mafile o pilo levu tu pautolu. E i whakalauni o kuni Elisapesi ua o Britania. I sune o tahima ni matolu. Maari we whau e tangatani o ne hangariri we ngahi rea muri. Maari a pito. Hange ko e waitafe ko na ko o veins. Na niriri ko tā mesi. Maari a pito. Niriri a kuna ke. Kage. Raha pito me ki tautara no kei. Ka kukau e na i he tohi. I he seksoni ko e na e whaiwa. Kata te vito ke whai tanga. E lawa pe insinia to e tata o mai pe ai si a fine sola a eiki se sofere kakala. Malo. tanga goina na e fatu eiki se sofere kakala ko pekia. O puna ke kakato goini na e tokanga I me he Vatikano mei mamanilahi. E ne ngau maonga mo fai mateaki mo fai matekina e fai wani. Tadau te vito ke fai watanga, fai wahiwa, fai wahaka. Pea fuakia e pe nolo kau pātere he Vatikano. Aguna usiwi mamafa au pito au pito. A e naiti huti. Pe koe eiki pe koe se. Ma ai punake kakata koe ni. Nai kawai ai fo'ou ene ngahi taanga. I ene hanga o whakawhena pasi ai tuakauta. Ai ui koe whakahehe pe koe lau he whaiwa moe toti koe tuti he whaiwa tā mea rea. Pea moe mea he musika whakawe si te koe tiri pireti. Ai koe tā tolu. Anana asi he tau he ha. O ne to oia me he tau ngai whaiwa tupu a. Me tu paki. Ko hafu e tau whaiwa ko ia. Pea moe sipa e ngahi lakalaka. O ne hanga whakawhena pasi. Kairi akia he tau kau musika me tau kau punake tonga. Ka nau malere nau toki he wesi te. Kai sio mania ki hono tonga o ngau e sanani. Ai futoan. O whakia i ai whakalangi koe ni. Kage, te uki no be tai po memoria la tare ki tau e Tala Koula. Maulolo e tau porokalama. Ape maro si o anga ofa o toloi mo feunu mai e tau taimi ke hao pe mau porokalama.
Koe koloa na mau ki mau tolu, pia e kai ke ngata whaitere ke mau tohe tunga taimi.
Malo abita mau koloa hulu. Aku wahe tolu e tau ati whakatonga. Ki he whaiwa tofunga mo nima mea. Pea ne more hono konga lahi, koe hake mai koia ai kau muri, kau te vito ke kau misnare, mo kau whakakolonia. O ngangana ai ngahi konga lahi, e tau ngahi whaiwa tupu a, ka tau te fito ki he tau whaiwa taanga, whaiwa hiwa, pea whaiwa haka, pea moe tau ngahi tofunga moe nima mea, pea ui kātoa pe koe ngāwe whakapea a. Sio ngā ki he paua e kau Europe, e nau furihi, e to'onga e tau tuku whakaholo, mo e tau kolofa whonua. Pea koe whaiwa, pea au te fito ia he sino, o ku hanga he sino o lau tu umai tanga, pe hanga he sino hiwai. Ai hiwa, pe hanga he sino haka. Ko tufunga, mo nima mea, o ku ngahi, o ku whauia e he sino. Sino o atisi. I tu e ai i hono sino. Plaga ke maari mo loloto. Ai tuku whanua, mo tuku ilo, mo tuku poto e tau whanga kui o tua. Pea koe whaiwa koe ni koe ati koe ni koe whaiwa, mo tufunga, o ku lahi whaia e hou e tangata. Pea koe tau ati koe ni koe nima mea, o ku lahi whaia e hou e whawhine. Aia, na e kau moia he mau whakatotoro ki he loloto koe ni na e lawe kia e tau aki whaiana. E tau wakili mai, e tau whirihi, e tau wirihi, ke mau ai momona o e tau ngahi ati e toluni, ai ko tonu mia, pe a whirihi o anga kehe he ngau e ai wesite. Ai ne au tau malere, ke tau malere tau tolu ke mea whaka wesite ko toa pe ia. Kau ai mo e tau ngahi ati. E aku mahu inga rewa ke tau whoki ki ai. Kaka ku iri atu pe he ku tau lowa mo e tau tawa. Kaka hae mea lahi ala whiunga pe mo e ofa koni ko tuku mahi tare ki tau e Tala Koula. Ke hao atu ai. E koutua e whie mau. Ke tau leire tato he ponyo aho. O uri. Mo i weekend o osi, mo i kahau he kai peke osi, he fulu. Hanga koe lau koe na ai whau koe ai punaka kata koe nau Simon, he oku loloto pea oku au. Pea te tau mere mo tau tolu kai ke ha tau manawa, osi tau manawa he kai peke osi, Kage, te kore ni ki he engineer gan tai mai mua e fo I hiwa o papai whangwhangu o I he seksonia ko e tufunga kai wate fito e tufunga ngā whangwhangu he toi whaiwa tā whangwhang pe fo pea ka atake ala toi tā I mai fo hiwa whao si nima pea o e kakala o tonga o whao maari e o e hiwa goena a se sofere kakala na e whakahoko ia e kata nekta kare gita ko tota sosifa ko lau fifita pe apoau ko polti usa ko whaiwhekau fōki moana ko monoa whaanga ko ika moana sipu pea ko tau whanau e na nau hiwa ka mau toki pick up o toi pe matolu mātua o monia ia e lau ko whanau ko hakau ia he ahonika ko e ponua I he apo. Aia ko no tuku atu e ngahi ilo fufu, ilo loloto, ilo moho mo pono. Ke hoko atu he tau whanau, a tau puri atu a tau ko he mamani o e whaka ngalo. Pea ko e fo I hiwa hono wha, ko e hiwa motu aia, a so ape alokaho, I he tahiwa wahiwa ape, ka agurau ki he ngahi kakala, ai o ku kau, ai nima mea atui kakala, nai lau e kia kolokesa ane nai, I he seksoni e ta. Ka tau toku hoku maa whakao si ose o kou whakaamu mo fie maa, ke haki lawe a mau tā wahe ako ke whai wa fuhu, ka tau te fito, nai kau heni ene kui, pea mo I toa he whai wa fu me I wawaurahi ko wisa tui neau. Pea mo haki I konga si I ka lawa I whai wa akapuru ko whai wa fo o ia na tok tāna mai. Engineer fo more alaga ke tae mai a rewa ngo hiwa ko e nā ke paka fihia mai ai ka toki ata e malae ka e paka osi ki he whakaiku e tau porokalama. Marobito.
Pongi, pongi, i ngalu e
tu i haku ka hoa, papai whamu whamu.
Pasi ka pea whalaaka. E koe me i te anga, ia si e te whakaanau. A tonga whakalata kei, whakatautalu. Koe ilo mo e poto, kanarata e talau. Katoi ai ai kua hili lala, tonga moe ka hau. Katoi ai ai kua hili lala, tonga moe ka hau.
Teu tu i haku ka hoa, papai whamu whamu.
Pasi ka pea whalaaka. E koe me i te anga, ia si e te whakaanau. A tonga whakalata kei, whakatarutalu. Koe iwa mo e poto, kanarata e talau. Katoi ai ai kua hili lala, tonga moe ka hau. Katoi ai ai kua hili lala, tonga moe ka hau.
Wai taangani, toke tāsi, tua lau, siosipa tua lau fifita, o hono mahalari, mo sani mo wiki, a toe mo ui mai, ai whangwhangu me he mate. Me me hangeni, ko no whamuita, e si sukaraisi ki tau tolu me tau angara me he mate ke mo ui. Na e taki a toke tā fifita, i hono tufunga, o e whangwhangu, pe to e taki pe i hono tā o e whangwhangu. Koe, ngā hire o koena ki olunga, o loto mo kano, o e tau whānau ia, ko mere vesi fifita, o e ope fine ia toke tā, pe mo mere seini, pe mo ake siu me moana tuai, ko e o kuonga mokopuna, na hiwai ehe kata nekta na elawe kai a kolokesa ai ange pa de tau hoko ke fasi hono famo fra osi ka toki prawa e malae ke huma mautawa ha ko lawe i vai wa fuhu ka huat mo lawe vai wa ka pulu mo to me pe o ku wala fai halawe kiai he kona ku fa ngofu mai e he tare kita o e Tala Koula ke lelele be tatolia o ai kono moni tadu ki he pure lahi ko ere tio ko tau dolo de tau ahoia e hoko o pau ke fai e fi umu whakatoho mo koroa o ke whatu uta ke ahoia de tau fai kage engineer tai mai ere vai fo i hiwa whakaosi ke tau olunga aki, e tau pō hiwa mo tau pō tau olunga. Kai toki whakaosi osi ai toenga kei toe. Malo.
Thank you.
te ki komeni no at pepa toki ada atu malai. Na fatu tangana puna ke kakato ko soape alokaho malo hiwa hiwa pe to foto mai. Fo hiwa kakala pe hiwa ofa. Pe to imagino ni ka te tatau ofa. Ko sino wai mo atamai wai ko te ofa mo oni ko te sino wai kita mo atamai wai mo to wai na kawe fo hiwa ko na i ngahi ni mamea da divito ke ni mamea tu kakala he gutu ngahi kakala ko na ke ngahi fo i kupesi o doi pe ko kakala ana na fo kala mai dai ne kuini ne ngahi mai mo fatanga o gutu maria nge pelolo to no tui kau ni mamea tu kakala ngahi kakala ke ngahi kupesi ke hono tui mo ilo mo poto pe utau inasiai kai mo ino tau lau marie maro atu ke engineer hono wago mai tau ngahi hiwa ke whakahoro ake tau katoa ngā whai ka maharo ko lawa ku konga aku na ku te mapike no nai fuloro konga taha tau konga nang bea kai te os kai tau hawa ele mai ngofua ko mai ka tuka tumua tae te pulunga tuliki ma tawa ako ya whakafonu ala lava ka tau toki talangata tau pulkalama i fia whakakoloa koe malo
Sepe te uki kamata me hen. Ego hiko sepe ko ti tano no pe. Di ma mea a tui tupe nunu o ku hahe mau tohi. Ko fine ike ni a tare kita o tau retio anda tamu toki maloi fo e kai whaea i voni. Pea ko kui foki a aku pea pehe foki ki a Siosefa. Tana ku pehe ki whaipaha ki lawe no ki foi ati koe ni ma mea tui tupe nunu. Pe koe whahinga ni ma mea koe ni koe hono vete o filo koia o tupe nu pe to whai hono whanki hai. O mauai ai foi kupesi koe nuku hātu koe lai ata pene o whine eki ana tau. O hātu koe ne maupare ni he taha o whiauhina whakahoko. Pena iloa ai i toa nuku pe peki ho nongo tokoua. Na unga au whakataha ki ai. Pea koe ataeni i he tau hifuaki e tau tohi ko awen ba muhoa risi o kuma tui mua i he tupe nunu pe moia ai whineiki ai a koe nima mea tui tupe nunu. Ka te utuka i seke tukat ka Ivon he ku Ivon ne tupu hake o ne ilo ki he ngawe koe nike ai e rupea ne mai he kuhi o kulahi ne ilo pea ku na whakaikeke a Ivon pea peke whineiki a lakalaka pea mo ngā ruafe koe tokowa e taha pea mo rupe kusi marolo pea ku foka kona utone mau mea ngai whakamatala ke tupe nunu. Ivon?
Malo apito te vita ka i tupu hake ko whine eki pia mo ka kai whine mei tu anuku. Na wako na maua ai kupesi ko ni ko tui mahala i he hao koe ka opalangi i he taimi tau. Pia na umari ke ka whine tu anuku pia ko ki na tō ke tupenu o hui ko tupenu ai au o ku na hanga rewa whakatau mai tupenu li neni o nau hanga to e to o e filo, pena to te hanga pena to ai e nau kupesi fo o, e nau to an kono astakai e ta whaaki o e tupeno onu. Pena e ako i ka atoa ki mautolu ka hok toko e ta hako ngā ruawhigo ne kei mauia ka koe aat koe miku kamata ke more. Ka oku ka kapau pe te motofi ilo lahi, toko lahi pe e ngahi hako i tu anuku e ka whiwhine koe ni, ka mga haa ai o nao kei mao pa nao kei poto pe no ai tu pe no
Ori.
Mari api. Ko tawake ne tana veke ki ta no ke ai. O to la he pe ka o ati na no fo pe o tau api. Mo tau kai. Pa tai mi la he ka no to fa kau o ko ka tama ati e na i he u university be o na i he u calories. Ngā rangi tau tolu e koe wāti ka wāti koe tau kui, koe tau tamai, koe tau whae. Pea mahu inga ke tau mahu inga ia i he nau ngāwe. Kai ke nai toki whai koe whaue tohi, pau toki whai whakahua mai e korokesa ke whakaukawa ngepe kua hangahi u āti he pāmiri ke whātoi ki hai. O toki mana tu i hake ai tui tupe nunu ai kwhineiki. Ka koku mau ia me mo ki tohi koe nima mea i he u tui embroidery, na ku whakaukau, tako e no ku iai pe ātia, no wha pe ho tau api, ka tau te o tau tōria toi kume ka kai ke. Ke nau whai, pako e uhinga ia, o paku kei tauhi pe, o kuia Iwon e taha ngai tupenu unu koe ni, pako e taha ene o kuia au, pe ko ia ko kinau tol ko ho ku fanga to ho ma ku tu fa fine ku nau sio mai ke ate tu pen no ko ni ai pe ke to homo atu ia e ko ku stu ku mai ka te au ke tau ia e au ka ko mari e huango ko fa hinga ko ni ma mea ko talu ben ni ma mea tu po mea hina ni ma mea ko kaanga ni ma mea ala alanga okay hoko mai ai pe o mai ke a ho ni ke fa hinga ni ma mea ko ni he koe ki whai konga ia taha. Pa te whakao si ake whai wafuhu. Koe ata eni, ai koe kukui eni he tawake ku, ai na tano ki a ana koe kue tawake ku whae, koe kui eni tawake ku tau mai. Ai a koe fuhu, o ku tau wakai ki ai koe whai wafuhu, pia mahino pena o si whai pe fuhu ki mua. Ko te mina tu utai a Kapten Kuki tonga nei ai e ngahi u tā whakatata o e whai wafuhu nei whai rotonga kātoanga inasi. Pea koe nu kei hoko mai ai pe, pea koe tā eni o e fuhu. Nai whakahoko e Soakai, William Soakai Puru, ai a koe tamai e tangata eki, pea mo visa tu i neau, mei wawao. Nana whakahoko pea koe, osi koe hifo aki e tautohi Aotearoa, nai whakataha kotoa mai e hako Soakai Puru, William Soakai Puru, koe nuko mau ata ena kuhaatu koe ni, koe kau Puru ena, pea ne mau Paka pe mo nau tohi pe nau fia ko ko fai ki whakamatala ki he fai wa ko ni ka ki whakamatala no pe ke fai wa fuhu o be ko fuhu ko aso kai na e fika e ne fuhu me he ta ki he ta haua pe na ku whakamatala ki he tohi ko foi fika ono o kui ko ono ai foi fuhu e soni ko ia ai ko ri atu ai he mai lalo ke horo kāti koe e tamafuhu, ke aruhi foi e mataui o runga, koe foi tuki tā mate ia mate ai e tama koe au na tuki. Ai nei whakawhika ka koe whika o no, o kui koe o noi, o ku pehen, o koe maari e taha ia i he whahinga fuhu koe ni, ai au ku hama e tā wā, mo e mahu inga e taimi, mo e hono whai i he foi whaunga totonu, ke potu tatau, ai tā ko ia pea koe maha koe ki whakamatala no pe ia ko whia wahe atu whega waki pea moe nima mea atu i tu penu no pea moe whai wa fuhu koe kuongo kui pe ia ako o ku whakakawa ke tau tala noa
Me lawa ke uki tāna ki atu.
Iyo, tāna ki mai huwanga.
Wa fie tau mo fie mau pe. O ku tala e hingoa e ongo ati koe ni ma mea atu i tupenu unu, ka moi whai wa fuhu. Ana tula o e ongo ati, kono unu ai tupenu, ka to e lalanga fo ou, koe kupesi. Koe fu tupenu e o ku pāpafua pe fokia.
Koe.
Pa i no unu koe o to e whaka kupesi, o mau e whaka ofa mo e aonga. Ka ofa ia te ia pe pa aonga he tau ngawe aki. I he ngai katoanga. O ngai koe pekia gonia manwe sina tōna ta no tau hiwa fitu he wiki kuosi. Ana e kau he kulupu koe na tere i loa. Na koka e ngatu uri. na koloi hono tāpuni ko hono puha ko utu penu tui matalai a kau katoa. Aia, hono gai ngata pe he ni whakafo kau toi anga o a koloi a ke tawataina ngau ai tufunga ni matapu i hono tāpuni e puha hono whakalele i a mea kotoa ke rerei. Pea koe whaiwa fuhu o toi maari e. Ko hono fu e nima o tuku atu ke hu he waha e nima o hono hoa fu ke tau he sinoga tau te fito ki he ulu tau he manifi pe koe ngao pe koe mutu ke haaki ki lalo kai lau hono poini o ti ke o ka pau e tō ki lalo he ka koe kutara noan ki he hingoa ka utau mai tatorea e hingoa e ngahi whaiwa fo o whakahingoa i o mama o atu hawhonua. Kai peke o fia i hange koe whaiwa akapulu ande ki komenia i o shaini. Ka pae mau ha ata komemore o ki tuku i mai la.
Iyo. Profesa peha o ata he...
Hane o fioku ana i he whaiwa akapulu. I kai hoke tau e koe whaiwa akapulu o kui peia ko sipoti akapulu o doe mama o atu hawhonua ene tae uhinga he koe akapulu o ku akapulu ko toa he soka moe hafua ka na totonu ke kumi whakarerei hafo irea e whiunga pea moe whaiwa akapulu koe ni pe koe iunioni pe koe riki he una kāinga pe he una whakatou te fito i hono whaiwai e sino ai foi pulu. Pea i he loloto koe ni e tau whekumi whakafilosofia koe ia ki he ngai whaiwa kau e ongo whaiwa koe ni ke lawe ki ai moi whaiwa ka pulu. O ku tau sio atu ai o ku kei poroparema au pito hono whaia koe e whaiwa ka pulu mono whaka uhinga. Koe tau whoki ki he peisiki, koe tau whoki ki he te fito. Koe hae whaiwa ka pulu, koe tari. Ono whaiwa i e sino e foi pulu. Pe koe pāsi, pe sikalamu, pe koe uraki, pe koe moro, pe koe aka auti, aka maolunga, aka loloto, aka whakatotoro, pe koe aka whakahu. Siange, o whaiwa i katoa e he sino e foi pulu. Pea aku whaiwai e he ongo whaahi e ua. Aia koe whaahi koe o kune mau e pulu o kuia koe whaahi o hofi mo e whaahi a wangi. Koe whaahi koe o kuhala he pulu, koe whaahi ta awhia mo e whaahi ta puni. O kute gai ke ilo ia e he kau whaiako aka pulu e ngahi te fito i nau koe e ngahi peisiki koe ia. Pa koe wha mata kapulu koe ni koe i TV e aoni. O koe whakanga i lahi ai kau whaiako a kapulu. E utikai ke nau ilo loloto nau tolu. E koe whaiwa koe ni. O hange koe tau ilo i e tau whatotoro. Koe ongo whaahi e ua. O unahanga o whaiwai. Whaahi e o nemau e fo i pulu. Whaahi o hofi mo e whaahi a wangi. Whaahi koe uhala e pulu. Koe whaahi ta awhi mo whaahi tā puni. O pehe ai pe, koe hae toonga u whai loto, he loto mala e, koe whai mea pe au hoko ai. Ke kamata me ai pe toki hoko atu ai he toenga koe, o e whai wa akapulu, ai ongo whaahi, kage. Koe rino no atu pe, ko tu pe ita koe ako akapulu. O ke kau whai ako na, o pe kini,
Ngale na toke urea kau tau ngari koe hu. Koe hu.
Filosofia ko ia.
Koe hu koe.
Anongo mai, ka tau pō tala noa, e toi saia, e toi mahiki ai whaiwa ka pulu. Ka tau pēri iki mo unioni. Ka nau pehevo ko nau poto ahe na nau a ka pulu tokua. E gai, oku whiemao ke nau whakaongo mai, ke kau whakatotolo, ke hulu agi e nau whaiako e whaiwa a ka pulu. Pea mo e kau whaiwa a ka pulu pe. Ke nau mau i fo i ilo, ngai fo i ilo te fito ko ia. Ka ke, e whaka no pe fo ke kutau loa mo e tāwa. Koe malo e ofa ai le tio ono ngofua mai ke tau aho ia. Ka hei kai te whoki hosi. Ka ke uto e iriat pena kuia hatana ki tawa ki whai ana mo korokesa pea mo Iwoni he koina ilo lahi he ate ai whankui. Pa toki tuku atu ke toki hanga o a whakatuku o whai hano talangata. Ka tau toi kumi manawa mo kumi a porogara mahoko. Mahalo ke tau hola i te.
Kai o te mo hola mo hao mau pe pra whawhai tau a veita tala.
Ki tāna ki singa peki he omerawa maari e kona ke tau whaiwa. Hanko e tau te kuilawe peki tau urea tau ngā aki ke tau whaiwa ko ia mo tau whaiwa ka polo ko e hāpua. O koe hū. Ko te hū he awa hū e matapā. Ko te hū, i hana mahi hū he whihi. Hū i, you know. Ai koe whangāru e tau tolu tau ngā aki pe he koe urumanga whakatāwa i e koe. Ko whainga whaiwa ko ia ando ko tau ngā ki ke tau whaiwa ko e koe hū koe ni whaere pasi. Ko te hū he maha ai o whi pasi e ua. Ai pau tau pasi e ua. Ai pau ngā ki koe hū i e hino e hū i ai marui. Ai mo hū pe koni maa ka pulu. Ko koe ke no foi tua ko ke he foi poto e o a ka pulu pe koe foi whakato i a ka pulu ko hū ki loto ke pulu tau mio. A pulu whai vainga ko whaiva. Ko vainga ko whaiva. Ko uto ko vainga. Ko vainga ko whaiva. Ai ko ki tāna ki si e beke he tau Tala Koula ki a lau tolo tau haa tau mo tolo ki tau. O ki na te mua ke tau rea wha o ki rai. E ko osi hanga bita ko ngā kuia o mai. Ai urea ko ia o ngā ake. Ngā ko ia peti tāna ki si.
E tu wha ai kanoloto ko to onga o whaiwa ko tope. Pane whakahua whai ai stediu me pe e taha a tonga ko e teu whaiwa. Ko e takitaha teu e ngai whaiwa ke o whaiwa iai. Pe ko e ate rita. Pe ko e lakalaka. Pe ko e maulu. Pe ko e akapulu. Ko e teu whaiwa. Ko e teu sipoti. Pe teu keimi. E nane a whioi. O ku pasanga-sanga ia pe whakapakoho-koho. O ku ikai ke aha no kanoloto o ku nge esi pe. Ka tau whe mate i tau tomisi. O ku teu whai e spoti a ka pulu. Ife i teu whaiwa. O teu whai e spoti tolo mea mamafa. Kife i teu whaiwa. Ko e whaiwa mea kotoa koe ni. Siange ke loroto koe a hono uesia ki tau tolu e mea whaka uesi te tau malere tau tolia whaka uesi lawe si ben ke u whaiwa tolu o asia e hu wange koe fu o tuku ia te nima ke hu he waha e ongo nima o hoa fuhu ke tau he ulu manifi ngao pe koe ngutu koe taanga lerei whaiwa taanga lerei whaiwa a ku hu e heri aki he waha o e ongo uhinga o ne hu e heri aki ai koe whaiwa taanga maari e koe hu koe e tua kautā he whaiwa hiwa pe koe whakahehe pe koe lau pe koe tuti i e tā mea rea koe whaiwa hiwa maari e ia pe whaiwa tā mea rea maari e koe tua kautā koe fo i tā e taha i tua i loto he ongo kautā e ua. Koe hau koe ke whaiwa haka u te asle rei ai. Koe hola kai haasi pe haka funga haka. A kuhinga ia, ono whakahua e fo i haka e taha, he waha e fo i haka e ua. Koe rea koe e matanga, maari e, pa koe mātuku mai koe kātonga. Whaiwa maari e a mea. Hena e heriaki, mohu heriaki e nau taanga, mohu tua kautā e nau hiwa, a mohu hola kai haasi mo haka funga haka e nau haka. Koe rea ai, Maka koe rea pe.
Malo. Ko resa te aha mea ke te takanga mai ki ai, i kai. Mako ia ka ne lawa ai a he hufang, Pau kia te mea ke toi toka ngai kai pau toki whao si atea.
Malo koe whakao whiofi taha bendi e kakato. Koe o tua me ko hao ko tau tolu whakao whiofi pe. Kai tuku ate pulu ke a whakatuku mai tau programa o tātā ki tau tolu he. Anga ofa e tare ki tau le tio. Ko tau tala noa tau taina pe o lava pe ko osi.
Malo beta huvanga he ako mai loto. Pea pe ki a tawake whaiana, pea mo kolokesa ua wha mahina tuai. Lava le rei e tau veita tala lolo a taha eni mai ku tau whakahoko. Ku tau lava no o tau hoa e tolu. E tau veita tala, pea koe tawa mo o ni eni ku koe ke te hapek te hanga to e whakanau ka ku lava le rei e tau veita tala, whakabalo atu ki a Ivoni. Pe ki a Josefa, pe mo e kau ngau e Tala Koula, malo no tuku mai e whainga maari e koe ni, ke mau whakahoko atua e mau tala noa ki e mau tohi, pe a koe mau tohi o kuofi he pe si e tolu ngeau, o kuofi ua ngeau hiwa ngofuru tupu, hei au koe ki konga si bende mau tala noa ki e via vini, pe a whakatawange pe e aha whainga maari e mawai hatohi o tau ka inga, ke na wako ai ki e tau ati whakatonga e koe tuwhonga whaiva pia mo e nima mea. Pia mau tatau atu, o whalahi atu, maloa pito e Tala Koula, ai mau whainga maarie, mau o whalahi atu, ka koutu i be te waweni peha tau taimi te tau to e whakatahai, pia ko e lava le rei ia e tau peita tala he whiawhini, o whalahi atu.
O whātu.
Ano, whātu.
Malo apito, malo apito. Ma o koula mai ma o kau whanongo. Malo apito ai koloa ia, ma tatau te whito ke a Dr. Okus Mahina. Mo ki mo tolu kotoa peka. O te mo kola i leba. O ko ata ape ai le teo Tala Koula ka whainga taimi pe, puko hape loloha o mo meita tala. We're still te mau hea ni pe ke tari pe fiat moto. Ka ngai ko lau mau ofa atu ka te moto. Ofa ki tonga ko toa pēnā mea mai he pōni, ka mō mea ofa.
Yeah.